And we are live for week 17. How's it going, everyone? Feeling a championship kind of way this morning. We've already gone through 5 games here in week 17. It's a smaller Sunday slate than usual, but it is the biggest slate of the year for those of us that are left. Shout out to every single one of you already tuning in to this championship Sunday morning, week 17 live. Tons and tons and tons of tough start sits to get through on the live today. Grateful for you all. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in throughout the whole season. There are some difficult start sits already in the chat. We're going to get to so many start sits on this live. I'm going to try to answer every single start sit on the live today. Michael Carter or Tyrone Tracy is a really close one. I honestly think I lean towards Michael Carter over Tyrone Tracy. I think we have Tracy projected maybe a tiny bit ahead of Carter right now, but that game, loser gets the first overall pick. I really don't want to rely on someone in that game if I don't need to. Tracy projects for around 15 carries, 16 carries in a pretty good matchup, but man, I don't feel great about it. I do feel a little bit better about Carter, though. Bucky Irving or Trevion Henderson, that one's a pretty close call there as well. Probably would lean Bucky in that one, but we'll get to that both those options here a bit coming up in the live. We're going to go game by game. Should be one of the fastest game by game segments of the live this season. And then we're going to get to tons and tons of start sit comments. Let's hop over to the running back rankings here on both live streams. We got the rankings ready to go. These are the rankings for all the players left to play here in week 17. So none of the players that already played are going to be in these rankings. All right, we're going to go game by game here. And then we will go to tons and tons of start sits. I got a DFS lineup for today, of course. I got some free player props as well. Breece Corm or Michael Carter. I don't know how you start Breece Hall today. I really don't know how we start Breece Hall right now. Tough matchup against the Pats. He's like splitting work with Isaiah Davis now. Brady Cook at the helm again. Not a guy I really want to trust here. I trust Michael Carter honestly much more. Michael Carter let us down a little bit last week, but the role was there, and the game environment's going to be there today too. Highest over under the day, highest over under the week by far is that Cardinals Bengals game. Actually, the Bears 49ers over under is close, but it's still under that game. All right, let's jump to the first game here on the slate, which is the Steelers and the Browns. This game has a disgusting 35.5 point over under in the ship today. Let's go, man. It is championship Sunday, week 17, man. I'm pumped. There is, I think today, some clear answers to the start sits. We don't want to overthink it here on Championship Sunday. All right, let's talk through this Browns Steelers game for a second here. So the Steelers, if they win, the Ravens are out. And so they do have something to play for here. They're missing DK Metcalf, who got suspended for 2 games. They're also missing Calvin Austin. So Adam Thielen is their number 1 receiver today. The Browns are the number 1 defense versus receivers on top of that. This is a tough spot here for the Steelers. It's going to be a lot of Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. For the Browns, let me hop over to the tight end rankings here. Harold Fannin is tight end 3. Among the tight ends left, there's no Brock Bowers. There's no George Kittle. This week, George Kittle recently, report just came out, 20, 30 minutes before the live stream started today, that he's unlikely to play tonight, which makes a lot of sense. I do not think he's going to play. It sounded like he was going to test it out pregame. He's not going to play. Which puts Harold Fannin in a great matchup. He's only behind McBride, who's in 3 tiers of his own. There's 3 tiers between McBride and every other tight end today. Definitely put up your prayers if you're going up against Trey McBride against the Bengals here in the fantasy football finals. But Harold Fannin, he was questionable coming in to this game. I mean, the target shares for Fannin have been unreal. Last week, we talked about it on the live. Tough start against the Bills last week. Bills are number 1 defense versus tight end, still puts up 19.5 points, still finishes as the tight end 2, puts up another 22% target share, which was actually his lowest in the last 3 games. Guys, there's no benching Fannin today. They're really, unless you have Pitts or McBride, you can't bench Fannin. And he's going to be flex worthy. I think I already saw some start sits that were like, should I put Fannin in the flex? Yeah, you can put Fannin in the flex for sure today in week 17. Really good matchup here versus the Steelers, even in a gross game environment. Judkins, brutal injury for Judkins last week. Hopefully he's back at the start of next season. We'll see. Definitely rough all around for him. Dylan Sampson is expected back today. Raheem Sanders, Travion Williams probably both going to mix in as well. I'd really prefer not to start Dylan Sampson. The Steelers' run defense has actually been pretty strong the last couple of weeks. Sampson's got a really low floor here, and he should catch some passes. These other two running backs catch passes too. Yeah, Gibbs was the running back 10 because he had 10 catches to get to running back 10, 22 points. Gibbs and Montgomery last week combined for 16 rushing yards versus this Steelers defense. Achane only had 60 rushing yards. He had another 6 catches. I mean, man, there's a PPR route for Sampson. But Travion Williams and Raheem Sanders, they're capable of pass-catching backs too. I'm pretty sketchy with Dylan Sampson today. Please don't start Shedeur Sanders in your finals. The Cleveland Browns defense definitely in play today in the finals. For the Steelers, Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren, both startable. Definitely both startable today. We'll get to all the super chats today. I'm going to try to get to literally every start sit today. Because if you made it to the finals and you're tuned into this live, man, I want to do everything I possibly can to help you guys make the best decisions here on Championship Sunday. We're going to have Sam's joining, of course, later as well to talk me off a bridge when I tell everyone Michael Carter's a must start. All right, Kenneth Gainwell versus Jaylen Warren. We got Gainwell with a slight edge. Gainwell's like a wide receiver 1 right now. I mean, legit wide receiver 1 numbers, guys. He's got 18 catches in his last 3 games, back-to-back games with at least 45 receiving yards, 578 and a touchdown in just the receiving game. 3 straight games for Kenneth Gainwell as a top 12 running back. Not an amazing matchup here against the Browns, but all the receivers are out. DK Metcalf is out. Calvin Austin is out. I mean, he probably is going to lead the Steelers in receptions today. So, yeah, he's startable for sure, especially in PPR. Adam Thielen's props, to me, are kind of interesting. I think we posted one of those this morning. If you're a premium WalterPicks subscriber, you would have got notified about that. He's going to play over half the snaps. He's probably going to lead the receiver room in target share today. In the Browns, they're allowing 8.5 catches per game to receivers. That's actually the least in the NFL, but still 8.5 catches per game. His line's at 2.5. Pretty interesting there. Don't want to start either of these tight ends. Don't start the quarterbacks in this game. Both defenses definitely in play, though, in this game. The Steelers and the Browns are 2 of the better defenses to consider. Taysom, Parker Washington, and Luther Burden. It's Luther Burden. It's Luther Burden to the bank today, guys. It's Luther Burden. I really, really want to start Luther Burden in my fantasy football championships. I get the Parker Washington stuff. The matchup is good for Parker Washington. He just balled out. I understand the Taysom Hill ceiling too. I'm going to probably tell a bunch of people to start Taysom if they're looking for a ceiling at tight end today, because there really aren't many tight ends outside of McBride and maybe Fannin and Pitts that have the ceiling that Taysom has. He could legit score 2 touchdowns. What other tight end can really legitimately score 2+ touchdowns? And he could do it in the receiving game, the rushing game, the passing game. There's a wide range of outcomes though for Taysom. The floor is still near 0. It's unclear if that role for Taysom last week, and the role was good for Taysom last week. I mean, don't get me wrong. If we could bank on this role for Taysom, I'd definitely be starting him. 15.3 points for Taysom Hill last week. He had 4 catches on 6 targets. He also had 12 rushing attempts, and he threw at least 1 pass. He threw a touchdown. So I think he had, 19 opportunities between the run, receiving, and passing? I mean, 19 opportunities for any tight end is absolutely unreal. I don't know if he's going to get another 19, though. There's some murmurs out there that it was his last home game for the Saints, and that's why they gave him all this work, and maybe on the road it's not quite the same, but it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. I still would start Luther Burden over him, though, pretty confidently. I think I'd probably go Parker Washington over Taysom too, but that one's much closer. But yeah, I'm going Luther Burden all the way to the bank today in the fantasy football finals. Guys, shout out to every single one of you tuned into the live stream already on Championship Sunday morning. Seriously, everyone, you got to appreciate this final Sunday of fantasy football. You made it to the finals, and that means you get another best day of the week on Sunday morning before we go an entire offseason, man. Make sure you appreciate watching the football on the TV screens today. All right, let's get to the next game here. That Steelers-Browns game, by the way, I like the Browns. They're 3.5-point underdogs. I see no reason the Browns can't win this game with their defense and no receivers for the Steelers. And I do think it'll be great for the NFL for that Steelers-Ravens game to come down to week 18. There's going to be almost no relevant games in week 18. I think that Steelers-Ravens one will be relevant. All right, Pats versus the Jets. I'm going to actually jump ahead here. And I promise I'll get to like all the start sits today. I'm going to get to a ton of start sits. Let me hop to the wide receiver rankings. Another receiver, and I don't encourage overthinking as much as possible in the fantasy football playoffs, as much as possible in the fantasy football finals. But if there's one guy that I really want to shove in today, and I am actually doing this in a 14-team league that I'm in because I have no other wide receiver 2 to really play, it's Kyle Williams for the Patriots. So the Patriots, Mac Daddy Hollins, he goes on IR. He's probably done for the season unless the Pats make the AFC Championship or maybe the Super Bowl, and then he can come back. He has to miss the next 4 games. So Mac Hollins is out. Mac Hollins has been playing 65% plus of the snaps like every single week for the Pats. Kayshon Boutte, he's also out, which leaves the Patriots with Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, and Demario Douglas. Douglas is also questionable with a hamstring. Like a true game time decision here for Demario Douglas. And if Douglas doesn't play, Efton Chisholm is going to get legit run here in week 17 in an awesome matchup versus the Jets. How much will the Patriots really need to pass? Probably not too much. They're 13.5-point favorites in New York in this one. Both Hendo and Mondre, both very, very startable. At least one of these guys is going to smash. Today against the Jets, they both are capable of smashing. I actually like them a bit more than where we have them projected in these running back ranks. Let me hop over to the running back ranks here in both live streams. But both these guys, I think you should feel pretty good starting. Both high floor and high ceiling plays. Henderson cleared the concussion protocol without missing a single game. But back to my Kyle Williams take. Guys, I think Kyle Williams is just a legit good NFL player. And we haven't really seen him in a super significant role. He did play 67% of the snaps last time versus the Jets. 3 targets, caught none of them, but 108 air yards for Kyle Williams. That was over a fourth of the air yards for the team. He had only a 9% target share in this game. He has never had a game over a 10% target share as a rookie with Boutte and Mac Hollins ahead of him, and he got both those guys out. We got him projected for a 15% target share. And I'm pretty shocked. There's no receiving yards lines out for Kyle Williams yet. Like, give us the Kyle Williams receiving line, man. I just put in a blank here for Kyle Williams. I think it's going to come in at the low 30s, mid 30s. They got to post one, man. They got to post one. Really surprised they haven't yet. But someone let me know in the chat when they do. But yeah, I put in a blank check here for Kyle Williams. My 3 favorite player props today: Elijah Higgins, receiving yards over; Kyle Williams, receiving yards over; and Brian Thomas Jr., receiving yards over. Those are my 3 free player props of the day. I wanted to jump to that as I talk through the Pats game here. So yeah, I like Kyle Williams as a sleeper. One of my favorite sleepers of the week for sure. At wide receiver, I like him. I think there's a legit 20-point ceiling here for Kyle Williams, and he's free in every single league right now. You don't need to force it in the fantasy finals, but if you were desperate receiver, he's one of my favorite sleepers of the week for sure. And Steph Diggs benefits a lot from this, obviously, as well. So does Hunter Henry, and Austin Hooper's probably going to have a real role as well. Patriots defense, no better defense you could ask for. On the Jets side of things, there's not a single Jets player you can feel comfortable starting here against the Pats. Breece Hall projects under 10 points. This week, I got him in must bench category. He's 3 straight games under 9 points. He's not playing 70% of the snaps anymore. The carries have been there. He's had at least 12 carries in like every single game this whole season, basically. Week 7 and week 3, like the only exceptions. But he's been under 4 yards a carry in 5 straight games. He's getting like almost no targets. 3 targets, 2 targets, 1 target over his last 3. Just no ceiling here for Breece, as good as the talent is. And this is one of those cases. I'll probably make a video about this post week 17, maybe after week 18. The guys that end the season really rough, sometimes I'm rooting for guys like this to end the season really rough. So everyone remembers Breece Hall being bad. He goes to a good team, and we can just smash him in drafts next season. A.D. Mitchell, top receiver for the Jets. They're using him like legit wide receiver 1. Still not a must start here, though. He has at least a 17% target share in 6 straight. Somewhat of a floor. No one else in this team could possibly be considered in fantasy this week. Again, Pats are 13.5-point favorites in that game. Yeah, Pats are going to protect May today. Not too much passing. I get that. I think that's very possible. It's not like the Jets have much of a pass rush. though, like he's going to throw at least 20 times. Drake May is going to throw in this game. That does make Kyle Williams, I think, viable. All right, on to the next game here. Let's actually jump to any super chats that have come through. I'll mix in some super chats as we get going here in the Week 17 championship morning, Sunday morning live. Shout out to everyone in the live right now. Congrats on making the finals, but work not finished. Job not finished, man. Job not finished. Am I crazy for starting Diggs over London in my flex? Also, potentially sitting JT for Gainwell in another league. Yes, I do think you're a little crazy. Oh, wow. We have Diggs ahead of London. I feel like this is a little crazy. Man, there's no receivers for the Pats. I mean, Diggs is really locked into like probably his biggest role, snap percentage wise, at least. How much pass volume is there really for the Pats today is the question. Drake London, he came back last week after missing 4 games, played 70% of snaps, only 3 catches, but did hit a 24% target share. The Rams are going to pump the Falcons on Monday Night Football. I mean, the Rams offense will not be stopped by this Falcons defense that is good for Drake London. I personally would be going Drake London over Diggs. I also like having some hope on Monday Night Football. I know Samps talks about that a little bit when he comes on the live, but I think I would be going London over Diggs personally. But I guess it's not crazy. You're not crazy to be considering this one to answer that question. And then potentially sitting JT for Gainwell. Yeah, you just can't do that. You can't do that. You can't get to the fantasy football finals and bench Jonathan Taylor. You just can't. You just can't. He's definitely in that category of you'd be pretty crazy to be benching him. WalterPicks got me to the shift. Hurts or Lawrence at QB for the W? Yes, I've seen a bunch of these Lawrence questions. There's no benching Lawrence today, guys. And man, if you told me before the season, you showed me these quarterback rankings here on Sunday morning for Week 17, I would not have believed you. We got Trevor Lawrence at QB1 here, just slightly ahead of Burrow and Allen, but he's in a tier 1 quarterback. You cannot be benching Trevor Lawrence. I mean, the matchup against the Colts is unreal. Brock Purdy just absolutely cooked this defense. He's got over 75 points, guys, in his last 2 games, does Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you cannot bench him right now. Back-to-back QB1 weeks. He's got 8 passing touchdowns, almost 600 passing yards. Over 600 passing yards. He's got 609 passing yards and 8 TDs and 71 rushing yards and 2 rushing TDs. He's got 10 touchdowns and almost 700 yards in his last 2 games. My God. And now he gets the Colts. And in their last game, the Colts defense, I know Sauce Gardner's back this week. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, though. We just saw Purdy throw 5 touchdowns for 32 points last week. So, yeah, Trevor Lawrence, he deserves to be QB1 this week. And there's not a QB to start over Trevor Lawrence today. You're not starting Jalen Hurts. There's some weather in that game, by the way. It's going to be probably a really rainy game. We'll get to that. Weatherman Sam report coming up momentarily. But, yeah, I'm not benching Trevor Lawrence. Absolutely not. Absolutely, absolutely not. All right, let's get to the next game here. Talk through the Pats-Jets. Pats 13.5-point favorites there. Probably going to be a pretty run-heavy game there for the Pats. Saints versus Titans. Titans at home, 1.5-point underdogs in this one. I've seen a bunch of people wanting to start Tyler Shuck. I get it. He ranks as QB 11 among the quarterbacks left. This week, let's pull up the Saints. Chris Olave popped up with a back injury. He's going to play. He ranks as wide receiver 3. He got people to the finals last week, advanced people to the semis in week 15. He's got 57 points in his last 2 games, 16 catches, 250 yards, and 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games. One of the best picks of fantasy this season. Really underrated all season. I mean, all season. He's been a PPR cheat code since week 1. He's averaging over 6 catches a game. That's 7th highest in the league. He's got 16 catches in his last 2 games. Now he's starting to score touchdowns and actually get legit deep targets as well. Yeah, you just cannot bench him. The matchup's pretty good here for Olave as well. Juwan Johnson, he ranks as tight end 4. And I actually think Juwan Johnson versus Taysom, like super interesting start-sit decision. I actually think it's pretty close. We have them only a point apart in projection. I'm okay going Taysom if you need the ceiling. Like this is a true quintessential floor ceiling type of decision. Juwan Johnson gives you the floor, man. There's a legit floor with Juwan Johnson. He's had at least 4 catches in almost every game. I mean, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 8 of his last 9 games, he's got at least 4 catches. There's very few tight ends outside Trey McBride that you could say that about. He's coming off a 17-point game versus the Jets as well. He had 8 catches, 89 yards. with 9 targets, and that was only a 19% target share. Saints get off a ridiculous amount of passing attempts, man. But yeah, Taysom does have a higher ceiling because Taysom could run for a touchdown, catch a touchdown, and throw for a touchdown all in the same game. Like, he could have 2 rushing touchdowns today. So the ceiling definitely is with Taysom, but the floor, I'd say, is with Juwan. And neither of these running backs, guys, please do not start Estime or Evan Hull in your fantasy football finals. Like, get them on the waiver wire ASAP. I'm in some 16-man leagues, 14-man leagues. These guys are on the waivers in these leagues. Like, you should not need to start Estime or Evan Hull. All right, that's the Saints side of this game. For the Titans, Tony Pollard has really been finishing the season strong. He's now had 3 straight games over 100 total rushing yards. Not a horrible matchup here. Versus the Saints, we only have him projected for 60 rushing yards today. He didn't score last week, so only had 10 points. And Tajay Spears is taking all the receiving work. Spears had 5 catches last week. But Pollard is startable, and Spears is startable in this spot as well. Cam Ward is well off the radar. Both these defenses, I think, are in play, but I actually prefer some of the other defenses on the slate today. All right, let's get to the next game here. Jaguars versus Colts, one of the better games of the day. This game has one of the higher over-unders of the day as well. I'll pull off the free prop picks here. And let's actually jump to the super chat quick. I will get to all super chats on the live today. I need help. Who should I start? Henderson on the Pats or Pittman on the Colts? Yes, Henderson on the Pats. 100% Henderson on the Pats. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings here on both lives. See some wide receiver questions in the chat that these rankings will help with. Chase Brown, ETN, London, or JT. Yes, this one's really, I think, just a pick 2. You're not benching JT. I really don't think you can bench Chase Brown here either. And I do want to start ETN. You're probably benching London. Yeah, you're benching London here. You bench London. Way more risk with London than all these other guys. I would bench Drake London. ETN, Tutin's probably back this week. I think he's still technically questionable, but we are projecting him to play. Samaje Perine taking some of the Chase Brown work, but the matchup's great for both those guys. Drake London's definitely high ceiling, but all those other guys have high ceilings too. All right, let's talk through this Jaguars and Colts game. This actually should be a really fun one. Yeah, I'm seeing Lawrence versus May. It's Lawrence, guys. There's no benching Lawrence in this game. Lawrence has been QB1 in back-to-back weeks. Now he gets a matchup with the 49ers, who just allowed 5 passing touchdowns. They get Sauce Gardner. He's back. But they're missing some keys on the defensive line. Who is it that's out here? Yeah, DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner, probably the best defensive tackle that the Colts have. He's going to be out in this one. So even with Sauce Gardner back, I'm not so sure this defense is going to be that much better. Sauce Gardner also hasn't been playing great this season. He definitely has played well historically in the past, but this season has not been a good season for Sauce Gardner. So yeah, you're starting Trevor Lawrence with a ton of confidence. Jacoby Myers projects ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. for us, and he has been outproducing him in basically 3 consecutive weeks now. He's got at least 4 catches now in 6 straight games. Hasn't scored in the last couple of games, but both Jacoby and Brian Thomas Jr. really good spots for both of them. I like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot. Today, he's playing a full role again. I think this spot for the Colts wouldn't be shocking to me to see Brian Thomas Jr. finish as wide receiver 1 this week, or at least wide receiver 1 on the slate with Puka playing on Monday Night Football. I want to start Brian Thomas Jr. pretty badly today. I've already seen a lot of Parker Washington questions. I understand wanting to start him. He's coming off a 26.5 point game, 6, 145 and a touchdown. He did play less than Brian Thomas Jr., but out-targeted both Jacoby and Brian Thomas Jr. versus the Broncos. This was a little bit matchup specific, though, with the Broncos' 2 best corners on Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers. Parker Washington just really cooked out of the slot in this game. We've seen some other big Parker Washington games this season, but I definitely would prefer these other 2 guys over him. And then we have Brenton Strange. Seeing some Brenton Strange comments as well in the chat. He's a good start today for sure. We got him at tight end 5 among the tight ends left. Him versus Juwan Johnson is super, super close. I actually think I might lean Strange over Juwan. We have them 0.1 points apart. But I would start Fannin, Pitts, and McBride over Strange. 15 points last week, did score 5 for 39. Good matchup, though, versus the Broncos. Broncos do kind of funnel to the tight ends and the slot receivers because their outside corners are just so strong. But Brenton Strange, he's a start too. And then Travis Etienne, I mean, there's really no benching Travis Etienne right now. Even with Tootin back, he's had at least 16 points in 5 of his last 6 games. There was really positive coach speak about Etienne this week that they need to keep getting him the ball. His floor is like 15, 16 touches here versus the Colts. We just saw McCaffrey smash against this Colts defense as well. So I kind of want to start all these Jaguars players. I mean, you can feel really, really good about all these Jaguars players. Strange or Goddard? Yeah, it's Strange by like a lot. It's Strange by not even close, honestly. And I get Goddard's been cooking. I have Goddard as a must bench today. The Bills have been really, really good versus tight ends this season. I think that Eagles-Bills game is likely to skew pretty run heavy too. Strange is in the better matchup. He projects way better. He's been better over the course of most of the season. Goddard has had a really good red zone role and scored a bunch, but yeah, I'd lean Strange definitely over Goddard. I would probably play Strange over Hunter Henry as well, seeing that in the chat. Strange over Fannin, I wouldn't do that. Are we benching Allen for T-Law? I'm doing it. It feels awful to be benching Josh Allen in the fantasy football finals. I do not think you can bench Trevor Lawrence right now, though. I don't see how you bench him. The matchup's way tougher for Josh Allen as well. Way, way more difficult. So yeah, I'm going Strange over Hunter Henry. Henry should have a bigger role with all the receiver injuries for the Pats, but again, not sure they see a ton of pass volume for the Patriots in that game environment. 13.5-point favorites. On the Colts side of this game, Grandpa Rivers had a truly impressive game on Monday Night Football. It didn't really matter. It didn't come close to winning the game with how unstoppable the 49ers offense was against this Colts defense. Still only finished with 18 points too. You definitely don't want to start Grandpa Rivers today in the fantasy football finals. I assume nobody is thinking about doing that, but he did give some life to the pass catchers here. I'd still prefer to bench like all of these pass catchers though, because there's so many mouths to feed between Tyler Warren, Josh Downs, and Michael Pittman, and Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is completely unstartable still, in my opinion, this week. I'd prefer to start Downs, then Pittman, then Alec Pierce. But I don't really want to start any of these guys here in my fantasy football finals. Like the floor for these guys is extremely, extremely low. This offense wants to run through Jonathan Taylor, which is going to be tough to do against the Jags. Still think you need to start Jonathan Taylor. It's going to be tough to do though. The Jags have been a pass funnel all season. They're allowing the second fewest or the fewest rushing yards per game. I think the fewest rushing yards. Yeah, look at that. The fewest rushing yards per game. The 4th fewest rushing touchdowns per game. The 2nd fewest fantasy points per game. The fewest rushing attempts, and they really have been a pass funnel. They're allowing the fewest rushing attempts and the 5th lowest yards per carry against running backs this season are the Jacksonville Jaguars. JT is still a must start, but this really could be a tough spot for the Colts who no longer have anything to play for. Their hopes are eliminated, I believe. I believe they're officially eliminated now. I see some Tyler Warren questions in the chat. Strange or Loveland? That one's really close. I do think that Loveland has a higher ceiling than Strange. Yeah, they project 0.2 points apart. Strange versus Loveland. I would play both these guys, though, over Tyler Warren. We have Elijah Higgins projected over Tyler Warren. I know that's a tough one to swallow. I'd be fine starting Tyler Warren over Elijah Higgins. Elijah Higgins coming off a huge game, though. He's the number 2 tight end for the Arizona Cardinals. If you're the Bengals defense today, I mean, the only guy you're trying to stop is Trey McBride. That really could open things up for Elijah Higgins with how bad the Bengals have been against tight ends. He is one of my free player props of the day. Higgins over 20.5 receiving yards. Like that one a lot. Tonjes, I'm seeing some Tonjes questions. He's startable. We got him at tight end 15. Not a must start, though. He really is not a must start. Like, he's not just going to step into the George Kittle role fully. We saw some good Tonjes games earlier this season, but yeah, not a must start by any means. Sticking with Tyler Warren, there's just not like a real ceiling here with Tyler Warren at this point. He's been at 6 points or below 3 straight games, 3 catches in the 2 Phillip Rivers games. He's playing a ton. The target share has not been bad. They did have 9 targets last week, and the matchup's good versus the Jags. I probably would start him over Elijah Higgins here. But if you need a ceiling, like I would go Taysom Hill. I think I would play Warren still over Hunter Henry, Kincaid, Michael Mayer, and those types. I do like the Jags definitely to win this one as well. They're 5.5-point favorites in this one. The 49ers I really liked versus the Colts last time as well. That certainly worked out well for them. The Dolphins and the Buccaneers. Dolphins are 6-point underdogs in this one at home. Definitely some fantasy relevant players here. I'm not benching Mike Evans. I got Mike Evans in my must start category today at wide receiver 4. When Mike Evans is healthy and playing, you kind of have to start him. Back-to-back games with at least 14 points. He scored last week. He's got 11 catches for 163 and a touchdown in his last 2 games. Back-to-back games for Mike Evans with at least a 36% target share. He's got 21 targets in his last 2. I do like Bucky Irving a lot in this game as well. I do think he's a start, a borderline must start here. We haven't really seen a big Bucky Irving game in a couple of weeks. The role was the largest it's been snap percentage wise last week, 63% snap percentage. He's really losing goal line work though to Sean Tucker, which does limit his ceiling a bit. Like Buka is a must bench at this point, like completely unstartable. With Jalen McMillan back, the floor is below 5 points. He had 1 catch. Did Egbuka last week, played 56% of snaps. He had an 8% target share. Chris Godwin is startable, but really not a guy I want to start. For this team, it's really start Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield is startable, but not a must start. Hop over to the QB ranks here. I would start Caleb Williams, Jalen Hurts, Purdy, Stafford, May, Brissett, Allen, Burrow, and Lawrence all over Baker. Then it's Baker. I would start Baker over Shuck. I got Baker like towards the bottom of tier 2 here. For the Dolphins, obviously you're starting Achane, who's had a really, really strong season. Running back 4 in points per game. He's had 4 straight. Was this? No, 8 straight with at least 16.5 fantasy points. I mean, the floor is unreal. Obviously, you know, the ceiling is high. He's had a 40-point game this season. Waddle is also a start. Even with Quinn Ewers starting, he went 5 for 72 last week, 31% target share. There's not many receivers in the NFL with a very realistic path to 30+% target shares every week. And this is one of them. Jalen Waddle is one of these guys. So yeah, we're definitely starting Waddle in most spots today. I'll go back to the wide receiver ranks here on the TikTok live. Let me pull up the running back ranks here again on the YouTube live. Shout out to everyone with me on Championship Sunday morning here, week 17. Always mixed emotions here in week 17 as the final week of fantasy football. Unless you're a sicko and your league goes to week 18, of course. I will be live next week as well. More with a focus on DFS and props than anything. Darren Waller is startable, but not a guy I really feel like I need to start here in week 17. 7 points last week, 3 for 40. He's only playing half the snaps. Dolchich is involved as well. Obviously, the running back's going to be very involved here too. It's a good matchup again for Waller. We know he can score touchdowns as well. So he's startable, but I'd play Taysom over him. I'd play Hunter Henry over him. I'd play Elijah Higgins over him. It does kind of make him a bench the more I talk about that one out loud. So we're starting Achane and Waddle. We're benching everyone else on this team. I do like the Bucs in this game as well. I still don't really have confidence in Quinn Ewers. On to the Seahawks-Panthers game. The Panthers are 7-point underdogs in this one. Let's see here. Panthers players not in the app for some reason here. They're playing the Seahawks. For some reason, that game's not making it in. Message here. Take a look at Bryce Young here. Definitely not a must start in this game. Yeah, it looks like week 17 for some reason not showing up here. We'll get that fixed in the app ASAP. But a tough matchup here for the Panthers offense against the Seahawks. Not a team where I really want to start many players. Dowdle is startable. Tet McMillan is startable. Let me hop over to the wide receiver ranks here. Yeah, we have Tet McMillan at wide receiver 17, right around Juwan. I probably would play Juwan Jennings over him with George Kittle being out. These Juwan Jennings rankings were actually before the Kittle news. So Juwan Jennings is actually a little bit higher now. But McMillan definitely startable. He's coming off a good game, 6 for 73 and a touchdown. 33% target share with 10 targets. Bryce Young has a tendency to really heat up at the end of the season. He's definitely startable here in week 17. Bryce Young is a must bench, though. I don't want to start Jalen Coker either. He did have like one big catch last week, but yeah, finished with 7.7, 3 for 47. He had 5 targets. There's an okay floor here. The ceiling's definitely pretty unexciting. I think the Panthers will lean pretty run heavy too. And this is one of the best defenses in the league here with the Seahawks. Kenneth Walker, I do want to start here versus the Carolina Panthers. It's been such a boom bust season for Kenneth. Of course, in the fantasy semifinals, we see the boom after a horrible bust in week 15. Goes under 3 points in week 15, goes for 25.4 in week 16. It's does he make a big play or two or not? You know, that's the story with Kenneth Walker. I think he probably does. Here versus the Carolina Panthers, I do kind of want to start him here in week 17. I assume there'll be some somewhat difficult start sits there with Kenneth Walker. I do like the Seahawks in this one. I do really like the Seahawks defense as well. All right, let's get to the next game here. We got the Cardinals and the Bengals. A dream spot for fantasy here. Bengals at home, 7-point favorites. The Cincinnati Bengals against the Arizona Cardinals. Burrow ranks as QB2. Only guy I'm starting over him is Trevor Lawrence. Burrow is in this like emo phase. 29 points last week, QB5 at 309 yards and 4 TDs. Jamar Chase is going to go scorched earth today, guys. Jamar Chase is going to go over 100 yards. Probably going to get 7-8 catches and a touchdown in this game. I think Puka ranks ahead of him in the receiver ranks. Yeah, Puka is just ahead of him, but they're really in the same tier here today with how good Joe Burrow looked last week. This is a good matchup versus the Arizona Cardinals as well. The Cardinals are also without some really significant players in this game. So they're missing their left guard and left tackle. They're without their starting left guard and left tackle are the Arizona Cardinals in this game. Their defense is also just obliterated with injuries. No Budda Baker. They're starting strong safety. No Jalen Thompson. They're starting free safety. They're missing their best corner. They're missing a number 2 corner. And I think there is an injury. Yeah, Josh Sweat's injured in the inside linebacker core as well. They're missing like 4 or 5 defensive starters and some of their best defensive players in this game. This was not a good defense to begin with for the Arizona Cardinals. That makes me want to start all of these Bengals players. I mean, Jamar Chase, I think if you're doing DFS today, he's definitely good for the props. Today, too, I like him over 100 yards with the props. I think his line's like high 80s, mid 80s. I think he clears 100. Today, Jamar Chase, last week, 9 catches, 109 yards. He's now gone over 100 yards in 3 of his last 4. He's got at least 7 catches in 3 of his last 4 as well. If he gets a 30% target share in this game, he's going over 100 yards. T. Higgins, he's a must start as well. Yeah, I'll show you the running backs. Do I risk starting Kittle? No, Kittle's already confirmed out. Or not confirmed out, but there was a report saying he's extremely unlikely to play. So Kittle's out. You got to assume Kittle's out for all fantasy purposes. T. Higgins is a must start too. The volume is just likely to be lower for T. He only had 3 for 53 last week in a touchdown. 3 targets compared to how many did Jamar Chase have? 12 or 11? T. Higgins had 3. Jamar Chase had 11. Jamar Chase has 27 targets in his last 2 games. The volume is just not really comparable for the 2 right now, but both are must starts. Chase Brown's a must start. Again, the Cardinals are missing 5 defensive starters. This was not a good defense before either. Most of these starters they're missing are in the secondary too. So Joe Burrow could really smash in this game. Both the receivers could smash. Mike Gesicki is definitely startable here. We have him ranked as tight end 19, which is probably a little too low. Noah Fant, I believe, is going to be out in this game. He's questionable right now with an ankle injury. So if he doesn't play, that's pretty big for Gesicki. Kind of an interesting sleeper for DFS purposes. And then Samaje Perine, his props are interesting today too. He's playing way more than I think anyone realizes right now. He's getting like 40% of the snaps pretty consistently. For the whole last month, he's getting 40% of the snaps. He's running routes as well. He's getting goal line carries at times. He's like more of a timeshare than I think most realize. Still, Chase Brown's a must start, but on the Cardinal side of this game, definitely some difficult start sits with the Arizona Cardinals. I know we're going to get a bunch of Michael Carter questions. We got one right here, Michael Carter or Blake Corum. We had a bunch of Michael Carter questions last week too. It was a floor game for Michael Carter last week, 6.5 points. He had 65 rushing yards, didn't get a single catch, did have 2 targets, only a 7% target share. Though he did run a route on over half the dropbacks against the Falcons last week. But this is stone cold best matchup for running backs. I mean, the Bengals have been so bad versus running backs and tight ends that they've like been good versus receivers because the running backs and tight ends are just soaking up all the yards, all the fantasy points. Michael Carter is the lead back on this team. He's going to get at least 10 carries. We have him projected for 12 carries. The Cardinals are 7-point underdogs in this one, though. And guys, the Cardinals defense, it will not stop the Bengals offense with all these injuries. For the Cardinals defense, that's why Elijah Higgins and Trey McBride project so strong. That's why Jacoby Brissett ranks as a top 4 quarterback here. I am playing him over Shuck, seeing him that starts it in the TikTok live. Michael Wilson is startable. He's not a must start though. This really could be a tight end running back heavy game. He's got 4 touchdowns the last 2, only had 2 catches last week though. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be active again on some type of snap count again. I definitely would be starting Michael Wilson over Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm seeing a Michael Wilson or Wan'Dale question. Yeah, we got them so close in the ranks. I think I'd probably just go Michael Wilson in this game environment. The Giants didn't even have a pass attempt in the first quarter last week. Like, I don't want my fantasy finals banking on a Wan'Dale when I know Michael Wilson's going to be in this insanely high scoring environment. The weather in this game, by the way, there might be some rain in this game. It's not going to be significant rain. It's not anything I am concerned about. There could be some wind gusts in the 30-mile-an-hour range, but the sustained winds, not too concerning, around like 15 miles an hour. I really don't think the weather impacts this Cardinals-Bengals game too much, and the over-under hasn't really moved. All that being said, I like Corum a lot on Monday Night Football too. I mean, these are like the Bengals offense won't be stopped. That's probably good for the Cardinals offense. The Rams offense also is not going to be stopped on Monday Night Football. But yeah, I think it's Michael Carter, man. I think Michael Carter is a little bit safer than Corum, just role-wise. He's the starting running back. He's in a really good game environment too. I think I lean Michael Carter, over Blake Corum. It's definitely a close call, though. Definitely a really close call. Michael Carter versus Jaylen Warren. I think I would go Michael Carter there too. The matchups here are just not comparable. Jaylen Warren gets the Browns. Michael Carter gets the dead last fantasy points allowed to running backs defense in the Cincinnati Bengals. So yeah, I'm going Michael Carter there too. I'm okay starting Michael Carter again. I'm not going to say this week that I would start Genty. I would start Michael Carter over Genty. Genty's definitely a must start. I don't think I've got to that game yet. Yeah, Michael Carter's a must start. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a must bench. Michael Wilson is startable, but not a must start. In most spots, though, you're probably starting Michael Wilson. I probably would go Luther Burden over Michael Wilson. I think I'd go Juwan Jennings over Michael Wilson too. We have both those guys below in the ranks here, but I think I would change that up. All right, that's the Bengals-Cardinals game. Should be a pretty fun one for fantasy purposes here in the finals. All right, Giants versus Raiders. I mean, they're maybe not stone cold opposite from this Cardinals-Bengals game, more so than this Giants-Raiders game. Literally a battle for the first pick. Both teams have such a strong incentive to lose this game. And the players, guys, they're not trying to lose. You step on the field, you're never trying to lose as an NFL player. That's just not how these guys work. But the front offices, they can try to lose. And that's why we are seeing no Andrew Thomas, one of the best offensive tackle for the Giants in this game. We're seeing no Max Crosby. We're seeing no Brock Bowers. Guys just getting shut down for somewhat minor injuries, moderate injuries that they otherwise would be playing through. Just no reason for them to play through these games when they actually have an incentive to lose and get the first overall pick here. Do the Raiders and the Giants. Loser of this game basically solidifies first overall pick. That's basically the dynamic here. Is it pretty sketchy for fantasy? And again, if these guys play, like the guys that are playing, they're going to be trying. The players aren't going to not try. The players do not care about the first overall pick. It's the front office that cares. The Giants, though, right now, as an offense, so tough to trust for fantasy purposes. Jackson Dart had 33 passing yards last week. He had a total of 40 yards rushing and passing. He completed 7 passes on 13 attempts. Like, this team, their only goal right now is to just not get Jackson Dart hurt. Like, they go into these games and the only goal they have like a piece of paper, coaching staff. It just says, don't let Jackson Dart get hurt. Just run the ball. Let's try to end the game as soon as possible. Like, that's how this offense is approaching the game. And Jackson Dart, in the pass attempts he did have, 2.5 yards per pass attempt against the Vikings. Pretty strong defense there in the Vikings. They're actually number 1 versus quarterbacks this season, but Dart didn't have a passing attempt in the first quarter. Like, these guys are so tough to trust right now with that being the dynamic of this offense. I have Tyrone Tracy in one of my teams that's in the finals. I'm starting him right now. I don't have a ton of better options. I think like him versus Michael Carter, it's pretty close, man. I honestly think I'm leaning Michael Carter the more I think about that start sit. I don't get to make that choice. In the league where I have Tracy, like Tracy should get at least 15 touches in the game. We got to project for 16 carries and 3.5 targets in this one. The matchup's not bad. Max Crosby's not playing, but Singletary could easily steal the touchdown. And there's no reason to expect like not a near 50-50 split here between Tracy and Singletary in a must-lose game for the Giants. Then Wan'Dale, he's startable. Are you sure JT over Henderson? I'm pretty sure I'd go JT over Henderson, yeah. I'm overthinking Sharp over Rico. I don't know what to do. Yeah, that's a close one, man. Rico versus Sharp. I think you probably go Rico. I think I'd go Rico over Sharp. A little bit more PPR ceiling. Michael Carter or Michael Pittman? Yeah, it's Carter. It's definitely Carter. Yeah, I already talked through that Colts offense. I don't want to start these Colts receivers. Like, I really don't want to start the Colts receivers. Yeah, I don't want to start the Colts receivers. All right, that's the Giants. So Wan'Dale is startable. Wan'Dale had, like, even last week, I mean, they threw 13 times. Wan'Dale had 3 catches on a 46% target share. A 46% target share. He had 6 targets. I mean, what is this, man? Just a ridiculous NFL offense here. They can't be this run heavy here in this game. I mean, a 46% target share and you only had 6 targets is the most Giants and Wan'Dale thing I think I've ever seen. These are the only 2 players you could possibly consider starting to. They shut down Theo Johnson, by the way, as well. So it's Daniel Bellinger and Chris Manhertz at tight end. Theo Johnson was their number 2 receiver on this team. Darius Slayton, he's well off the radar at this point. Wouldn't be shocking to see him make a big play, but he had 2 points last week. He had a 15% target share. That was 2 targets. God, he hasn't been over 10 points in the last couple of weeks. He doesn't have a 15-point game all season. He is not good. I'll pull up the tight end rank, seeing some people ask for that. I'll get to some of these comments as well. Again, the Giants are the Giants favored in this one? Giants are 2.5-point favorites in Las Vegas. I mean, what a just disgusting game. Let's just jump to the Raiders quick, and then I'll get to some more start sits here. So the Raiders also, very incentivized to lose this game for the same reason as the Giants. They shut down Brock Bowers. They shut down Max Crosby. Ashton Genty, though, he could be in for a huge role in this game. And I couldn't have been more wrong about Genty last week. The role was unreal. 24 carries. He only had 2 targets, but he caught one of those for a 60-yard touchdown. Finishes the game with 188 total yards, 2 TDs, was the running back 3 on the week, over 30 points. Now he gets the Giants defense, who have been the second best matchup, only worse than the Cincinnati Bengals. If you have Genty, you got to start him. I mean, you got to start him. I know it's a little scary with them shutting some of these guys down. Did they really give Genty this big role? I think they're really going to give Genty another big role in this game. There was some coach speak this week too. There was like, yeah, Bowers is out. So Genty is like the one weapon we have. He could get 30 touches in this game. Still wouldn't be that crazy. And if he does, I mean, the Raiders probably win. And Genty probably goes for 100+ yards and at least a touchdown against the Giants. His receiving role has been pretty strong too down the stretch of the season. He had a 60-yard catch last week, but he's had at least 4 catches in like most of the games over the last couple of months. So yeah, you're starting Genty with a ton of confidence today. It's a little bit scary with the dynamic of the game, but I think you still kind of have to start him in the matchup. Michael Mayer, I really don't want to start him even with Bowers out. He ranks his tight end 12. None of these receivers could possibly be started. Geno Smith is like maybe a sleeper, but also wouldn't be shocking to see him score 0 points or near 0 points. He did have 15 against the Texans last week. He played okay versus the Texans, 201 and 2. A lot of that came on a couple big plays, though. It's really Genty and bench everyone else here on this team. Both these defenses, I guess, could be started as well. All right, that's the Raiders-Giants game, the game for the first overall pick there. All right, let's get to Allen or Burrow. Need points bad. It's Burrow, man. It's Burrow. Yeah, I just talked through that Bengals game. Down 25 already because of Henry. Also have Luther Burden I like a lot. I do like Luther Burden a lot, especially if you need ceiling here on Sunday Night Football. I want to start Luther Burden. But yeah, for the quarterback starts it here, it's Burrow. And honestly, I actually don't know if it's that close here, especially with the context that you need ceiling. They're projected 0.1 points apart. I'm curious who we have with the higher ceiling in the app. I definitely think the higher ceiling is Burrow. I think we technically have Josh Allen with the higher ceiling. I think it's close enough to say, though, especially you look at the spreads in the over-unders in this game. So the Bengals, they're 7-point favorites with a 54-point spread. They have the highest implied team total on the slate. The Bills game, the projected total in the game is 10 points lower. Bills are 2.5-point favorites. I really think both these teams could skew pretty run heavy here in this game between the Eagles and the Bills. There's also the weather report in that game between the Eagles and the Bills. Definite rain. It's going to be downpouring rain. I believe the entire game is wind gusts as high as 30, but the wind is actually not as concerning as the rain, up to 2 inches of rainfall in this game. I think there was a flood warning issued in the area as well. That's the type of rain we could be seeing. Another thing that could just push these teams to be a bit more run heavy. And then Burrow, he gets the Cardinals defense that are missing 5 starters, and several of their best, like all of their best players in the secondary aren't playing game for the Cardinals, and they already weren't a good defense. So you got Burrow up against a practice squad secondary here for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals offense really could like push the Bengals offense a little bit more than we saw the Dolphins last week too. Like Burrow could go for 40. He really has an extremely high ceiling. So yeah, I feel good about Burrow here as well. Pittman or Pearsall, picking the lesser of two evils here, though. You killed it this year. Thanks, man. Playing for my first championship in 2 of 3 leagues. First year subscribing to WalterPicks. Yeah, shout out to you, man. Shout out to every single one of you who've tuned into the lives throughout the season, who have subscribed to the WalterPicks app. It's the #1 way you can support me and the whole WalterPicks brand. Pumped to see many of you in your fantasy football finals. I was in 12 leagues this year. I'm in the finals in 5 of them. Almost half. Not bad. Not bad at all. I got a legit chance to win 5 out of 12 championships. I definitely will take that 100%. All my leagues are super, super competitive as well. First year subscribing, man. Shout out to you. Yeah, Pittman versus Pearsall. This is a super interesting start sit here. So I wanted to jump to this one before I get to the final games in the game-by-game breakdown. I'll get to the DFS lineup. I know some of you waiting for that. I'll recap the free player props, which I did show earlier as well, and then we'll get to all the start sits. So Pearsall is questionable in this game. Pittman obviously not questionable. If you are going to ride with Pearsall, I do think you need to add someone in case he doesn't play, because there's a legit chance he doesn't play. 47 minutes ago, wow, expected to play on Sunday night. This is a big report. It's Pearsall, man. Yeah, it's Pearsall. With this report, it's Pearsall. I was going to say, I was leaning towards Pearsall anyways. I was just going to say you should probably add either Kendrick Bourne or Olamide Zaccheaus, or maybe even Mumfield or Darnell Mooney, like as a backup option, because they play Monday night in case he doesn't play. But it sounds like he's going to play. And there's no Kittle in this game now too. Really good match versus the Bears. I think this Bears offense is going to push the 49ers offense too more than we saw the Colts even do. And the Colts were pretty successfully pushing them for most of the game last week. This is going to be a fun game here on Sunday Night Football tonight. Yeah, I'm going Pearsall here. I think the floor is honestly pretty similar too for these two guys. The floor is pretty low for both. That's why I agree with you. It's kind of lesser of two evils, but there's a legit ceiling there for Pearsall against the Bears for sure. The Bears have been a good matchup for receivers this season. Michael Carter or Trevion Henderson? Yes, it's Trevion Henderson for sure. Definitely would go Trevion Henderson there. All right, I think we're through almost every game. Yeah, we talked to the Giants. There's only 3 games left. It's the Eagles, Bills, Bears, 49ers, and Rams, Falcons. 3 fun ones to talk through. I'll weave in some start-sits as well when we get there. But yeah, I'm definitely going Trevion Henderson over Michael Carter. Let me pull up the tight end rankings here on both live. See some people asking for those. All right, so this Bills-Eagles game. I want to start James Cook and Saquon. I don't think that's too surprising. Josh Allen is startable, but he's not QB1. I'm starting Lawrence and Burrow over him like pretty comfortably, actually. They project close, but I definitely would bench Allen for those 2 guys. Man, where are the receivers on this team? Shakir projects for 8 points. Another tough matchup for him against the Eagles. He doesn't have a ceiling game in over a month, like just completely unstartable. The next best receiver, we got Josh Palmer, Brandon Cooks. Is Keon Coleman even going to be active in this game, man? We have him projected not to be, but definitely possible that he is. It's James Cook and Josh Allen. It's nobody else. And the Eagles have been this is the number 1 and number 2 defense versus tight ends in the same game here. I don't want to start either of these, any 3 of these tight ends, Kincaid, Knox, or Goddard in this game. The Bills, I believe, are favored. Yeah, 2.5-point favorites in this one. I actually like the Eagles in this game. The Bills defense has been so bad. Eagles probably going to get Lane Johnson back in this game as well, their star left tackle. He's a bit better as a pass blocker than a run blocker, but definitely not a bad thing for Saquon. He projects his running back 9 on the week. Definitely has a really high ceiling. We're starting to see him come on. Honestly, guys, I mean, this was a W for me with Saquon. I was buying him all season, just buying the dip on Saquon. I have him in multiple championships today because of it. And it was because of this schedule in the fantasy football playoffs. And man, it's coming to fruition. 17 points in week 15, 21 points last week. He's had at least 78 rushing yards and a touchdown in 3 straight games. Now he gets the Bills. And this Bills game has been circled for me all season. So if you got Saquon, I think there's a really high league winning ceiling here. Last week, we saw Raheem Sanders and Travion Williams combined for 9 catches and over 50 yards. Judkins had 5 catches before he got hurt. So we saw, was this like 27 points from the Browns running backs, half the game without Judkins as well. The week before that, we saw 40 points from the Patriots running backs. They've allowed like 60 points in the last 2 games of running backs. Now we get Saquon, who's starting to heat up with the big plays a little bit. A.J. Brown is a must start, I still think, in this game. It's not a great game environment for him if it's going to be really run heavy. The Bills have just been so bad versus the running backs. It really could be a Saquon 30-touch game here. But I still think A.J. Brown's a must start. He still had at least 12 in every game over the last month. If the game is a shootout, it's going to be A.J. Brown, I think, over Devontae Smith in this one. And Dallas Goedert, I think, is just not startable given the matchup. So that all points to A.J. Brown being like borderline must start. I think I would go Tony Pollard over Dylan Sampson. I'll pull up the running back ranks here. Jalen Hurts is not a must start in this game either. Like, I'd start Jacoby Brissett, I think, over him. Again, it could be a really, really run-heavy game, and Jalen Hurts probably is involved in that. He's had 14 carries over the last 2 games, 5 passing touchdowns over the last 2 games. He only has 1 30-point game all season, though, and that came against the Cowboys. Like, I think there's a higher ceiling for some of these other quarterbacks today. I'll pull up the QB rankings here again. Trevor Lawrence, I'm starting over Jalen Hurts. Joe Burrow, I'm starting over him. I'd start Josh Allen over him. I'd start Jacoby Brissett over him. I think I'd go Drake May over him, even though there might not be a ton of pass volume there for Drake May. Stafford and Brock Purdy, I'm starting over Hurts as well. Then it's Hurts. I would strongly consider Caleb Williams over Hurts too. I want to start Caleb Williams here. About to hop to that game here in a second, but Jalen Hurts, he's startable, not a must start. A.J. Brown is a borderline must start. Saquon is definitely a must start. I don't want to start anyone else on this Eagles team. Devontae Smith, borderline must bench. I don't want to call him a must bench, but he's close. I think I lean more towards bench than start here with Devontae Smith. Like I would start Luther Burden over Devontae Smith, for example. And Goddard is a must bench. For the Eagles, you start Allen, you start James Cook, you bench everybody else. Unless you have Burrow or Trevor Lawrence, in which case you're actually benching Josh Allen. All right, on to the Sunday night game. I'm pumped for this one, man. I think this is going to be a really, really fun game. Should be a ton of points for fantasy. Hop over to the running back ranks here. Even with some of these guys in really, really good matchups, no one projects better than Christian McCaffrey. And if anyone, any other future season, tells you so-and-so can't be drafted, they're going to get hurt. You just point to the season from Christian McCaffrey. You cannot, people every single season way overestimate their ability to predict injuries. And this was, a very, very classic example. CMC over 25 points per game. He had one game under 15 points all season, plays every single game, leads the NFL in touches. Man, but yeah, we can predict injuries. Yeah, I know he's going to get hurt. The Madden curse was getting cited, I believe, in it with CMC. Maybe that was last year, actually, the Madden curse. Saquon was the Madden curse, I think, this year. He has 6 catches in 56 receiving yards per game. That's way above almost every receiver. Brock Purdy, he ranks as QB 7 in this spot. A pretty good matchup for him here versus the Bears. He's coming off back-to-back games over 26 fantasy points. This game is a pretty high over-under as well. Juwan Jennings with no George Kittle. He's a borderline must start. Ricky Pearsall does have a ceiling. I just said I would start Pearsall over Michael Pittman. He's expected to play tonight, but he is questionable. If he doesn't go, Kendrick Bourne's going to be in play. Jake Tongus, I'd really prefer not to start in the fantasy football finals. I'd rather start Elijah Higgins. If you're starting Jake Tongus, just start Elijah Higgins, in my opinion. On the Bears side of this game, I'm Caleb Williams. I'm very excited to start him here in the fantasy football finals. Did almost nothing last week until the last drive and then overtime, finishes with 21 points. Now has at least 19 points in back-to-back games against the Browns and the Packers. Now he gets a way softer defense in the 49ers. We just saw a Grandpa Rivers have almost 20 fantasy points against the 49ers defense. The 49ers defense offense is also just unlikely to be stopped by the Bears defense. That should mean plenty of pass attempts and ball in hand for Caleb Williams on Sunday Night Football. Luther Burden projects as the number 1 receiver. Him and DJ Moore are back-to-back in the wide receiver ranks. I do prefer Luther Burden over DJ Moore. It took DJ Moore, we need to see multiple wide receiver injuries for DJ Moore to really show up. We have seen now 4 20-point games from DJ Moore in his last 8 games. He's definitely startable with a ceiling, but yeah, I'm really excited for Luther Burden in this spot. There's no Rome Odunze still. Zacchaeus is definitely still going to have a role, but I think the ceiling for Luther Burden is extremely high. I do want to start him in the fantasy finals if it makes sense. I'm not going to force it, but he's a pretty good start here. Both these receivers are top 15 receivers left. Colston Loveland, also a really good start. If I hop back over to the tight ends, there's not that many tight ends that you're confidently benching Colston Loveland for. It's Trey McBride, Pitts, Fannin, Juwan, Brenton Strange, end of list. And I would not knock you for going with Colston Loveland over Juwan Johnson, over Brenton Strange. They're all projected within half a point of each other. And Loveland does have a high ceiling. He disappointed people last week, only 3 for 30, and that was a game without Luther Burden, but he did play 80% of the snaps, had another 17% target share. He's at least 5 targets now in 5 straight games, and this is the best matchup he's had in over a month. I do still like the ceiling for Colston Loveland. I'm okay starting him here in the finals. DeAndre Swift is a start. Monangai is startable. I do prefer Swift over Monangai. Tough because this is like a true split backfield right now. They're playing both half the snaps. I think Swift does bode a bit better though than Monangai. I like the Bears in this game too. They're 3.5-point underdogs in this one. All right, last game to talk through, then I'll get to tons and tons and tons of starts hits. We got the Rams going in Atlanta. To end the fantasy football finals, this game is going to have an insane amount of points. A 49.5-point total. By the way, that Bears 49ers game also projected to have an insane amount of points, 53-point total. The only games above the Rams, Falcons, and Bears 49ers is that Cardinals Bengals game at 53.5. But this Falcons defense is going to get absolutely obliterated in this spot. Stafford ranks as QB6. Puka Nacua, just out of this world receiver. A 46-point game last week. He's been a top 2 receiver in back-to-back-to-back games. Doesn't have under 167 receiving yards in his last 3 games. I mean, these numbers are like he's putting up total season numbers here in just a 3-game stretch. He's got almost 500 receiving yards and 4 TDs and 30 catches in the last 3 games. Man, and no Devontae Adams expected again. He's going to absolutely smash again in the fantasy football finals. Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, both startable here. I want to start Blake Corum. The projection is always a little sketchy because Kyron Williams is going to lead the backfield in snaps and carries, probably in targets as well. But we've now seen at least 13 for Corum in 4 straight. He scored a touchdown in 4 straight. I don't think this game, which is good for Blake Corum as well. You could do much worse, I think, than Blake Corum here. The tight ends are pretty tough to trust because there's 3 of them playing legit snaps. I think Higbee's going to be back soon. Yeah, he's not going to be back this week, but he could be back for the NFL playoffs. Mumfield was the wide receiver 2 on this team with Devontae Adams out. He did see a 17% target share on 8 targets, but he's not startable. He's not a horrible backup option, though, if you're looking at Pearsall. Like him and Darnell Mooney are probably on the waivers as a backup option in case Pearsall doesn't play. That's the Rams side of this game. I really want to start Stafford, Kyron, and Corum. Obviously, we're starting Puka. I also like Harrison Mevis. I'm starting him in multiple finals matchups. He's had at least 9 and 3 straight, and I don't see this Rams offense, scoring less than 30 points in this game. So pretty good spot, I think, there for Mevis as well. Rams defense also in play. For the Falcons, Kyle Pitts is tight end 2. Unless you have Trey McBride, you're starting Kyle Pitts right now. Legit league winner this season, man. Look at this. At least 15 points in 4 straight games. He's got at least 6 catches and at least 57 receiving yards in 4 consecutive games. He also has 4 touchdowns over his last 2 games. And they're going to be trailing in this game, which is great news for Pitts. Bijan, he's got 15 catches, I think, over his last 2 games. Yeah, 15 catches for Bijan in his last 2 games. On top of that, he's got almost 170 rushing yards. He's been a top 4 running back in back-to-back spots. Tough matchup versus the Rams. Doesn't matter. Must start. Drake London, I do think you got to start here in week 17. I'm starting him with confidence in one of my finals. He had a down game in his first game back, only 5.7 points. But honestly, the snap percentage, the target share, were both pretty encouraging. 70% snap share, 24% target share. I think both those increase here versus the Rams. And again, the Falcons are going to be trailing in this game. So I think that's good news for Drake London. I have Kirk Cousins as a sleeper this week too. If you don't have one of the top QBs, pull up the QB ranks here. If you don't have Lawrence, Burrow, Allen, Brissett, May, Stafford, Purdy, Hurts, Caleb, Baker, or Shuck, I think it's Kirk. I actually agree with where we have him ranked here at QB 12. They're going to be getting crushed in that game versus the Rams. He could easily throw 3 touchdowns against the Rams. I do think he's an interesting sleeper. You probably have one of these other 11 guys if you didn't already start a QB, but I would have told you to start Malik Willis probably over Kirk Cousins as well with the rushing, and that certainly hit as well. I actually played it pretty bold in one of my finals matchups. I put in Malik Willis over Jacoby Brissett. I'm a tiny bit scared, and that worked out, very well. I'm a tiny bit scared about Jacoby Brissett's floor, even in this high-scoring game environment. They're missing their starting left tackle and left guard in this game. He only had 11 points last week, by far his worst game of the season as well. Like I'm a tiny bit nervous here for Brissett. I think he's definitely still startable, but that's why I started Malik Willis over him. I'd be fine starting May, Stafford, Purdy, Hurts, Caleb over Brissett too if you're also nervous about that. All right, let's get to some of the start sits here. That was the game-by-game breakdown, my last fantasy football season game-by-game breakdown. I will be live next Sunday morning as well. Yeah, I think Pearsall and Jennings both get some real work in this game versus the Bears. Josh Allen, Hurts, or Brissett? Yeah, it's Allen. Start 2, yeah. I honestly think I'd probably just go Allen and Brissett still over Hurts. I know I was just saying I'm a little bit nervous about Brissett. I still think I'd play him over Hurts, though. Starting Allen and Hurts is not a horrible move there either. Drake May or Burrow? It's Burrow. Unless you have Trevor Lawrence, it's Burrow today. Tet or Wandale? It's Tet. Yeah, I'm going Tet over Wandale. Good morning, Sam. Day 1 subscriber, multi-champion, standard scoring. What's going on, James? Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you tuning in all season. Appreciate you doing the WalterPicks app subscription as well. It's no surprise So many WalterPicks App subscribers in the chat today in their championships. Drake London, Michael Wilson, Monungai, or Michael Carter. Thanks. I think it's Drake London, man. I think this is Drake London. Yeah, it's Drake London. Drake London has had an incredible season. It feels like it was a while ago since we've seen it, because it was. We see he missed 4 games, and then last week was a dud. He's still, just even with last week, averaging 18 points per game. He's got the 5th most yards per game, the 6th most catches per game, the 6th most points per game. I don't know how we bench him, honestly, in the fantasy finals when you got these other options. And again, like I just talked through that game, the Falcons are going to get crushed defensively in that game. They're going to have to throw. Yeah, the fact that it's standard too definitely pushes me to London over Michael Wilson. Does make me want to consider the running backs a little bit more because it's standard, but I still think it's probably London in that one. I'm going to prioritize the super chats if there's any others here. I just lost Kittle and have Parkinson or Mayer on the bench to fill the spot. Who do I start? Next best on waivers is Helm. Yeah, so I actually think it might be Elijah Higgins. I might go Elijah Higgins. Higgins versus Mayer versus Parkinson. It's honestly pretty close. I think that Elijah Higgins, let me go back to the tight end ranks here. He's in play here. I think the prop markets would probably push you towards Mayer and Parkinson. Our projections would probably push you towards Elijah Higgins. Higgins had the better game last week. Last week, Elijah Higgins, 7 catches, 91 yards. He was tight end 6 without a touchdown, and now he gets the Bengals. If you're going for ceiling, man, it's Elijah Higgins. He's been playing over 60% of the snaps. Like, he's like their wide receiver 4 on this team, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is not expected to play a full allotment of snaps again. Like, the top receivers on this team, it's Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, Marv, and then Elijah Higgins. Elijah Higgins, by the way, was a wide receiver in college. He's a converted receiver to tight end. He's not a blocking tight end. Like, he's out there to catch passes. I like Elijah Higgins this week, man. I think he's a really interesting sleeper with a high ceiling. I think I lean Higgins over all these guys. And I don't think you can start Helm. Definitely not Helm. Mayer's interesting, man. I mean, the Giants are so bad. He's probably the floor play. I actually do think Parkinson is more of a ceiling play than floor too, just because there's so many tight ends playing. The last times we saw Michael Mayer get like a legit role, though, I mean, 5 points, 4 points. He's 1 game over 10 points all season. I think I go Elijah Higgins here, honestly, assuming he's also available. If not, I probably would go Michael Mayer. Would you start Jacoby Myers over Drake London? I probably would. Probably would. Yeah, I would. Man, I don't want to bench London, but Jacoby's pretty safe here versus the Colts. I like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot today. He's one of the free player props. I'll jump to the free player props here in a second. Waller or Taysom? I'm going Taysom, I think, over Waller. I think they're both ceiling plays. Taysom's ceiling is just higher. But, play the higher ceiling play if you're going to go for the ceiling. Tet is sick, questionable. Oh, gosh, yeah, I still think you start Tet. Man, look at this ceiling floor decision here. It's not like Jacoby doesn't have a ceiling, though. This is a really tough call in the fantasy football finals. The matchups, it's better for Jacoby, even with Sauce Gardner back. You do have to wonder a little bit, too, like, can the Colts really keep pace again this week? They kind of kept pace on Monday Night Football last week, and they keep pace again against the Jags. Probably a better defense, definitely a better defense than the 49ers defense they played last week. The Rams offense is putting up 30 plus. Yeah, I kind of agree with this exact comparison we got up on the screen in the WalterPicks app here on the YouTube live. Like, if you are down by a lot, say you went against Derrick Henry, I'd be okay risking it here with Drake London. Otherwise, you do go Jacoby. At base, I'm going Jacoby over Drake London. RB ranks, please. Yeah, I got you. Let me just jump to the free player props real quick again and the DFS lineup, and then I'll get to the start sit segment officially of the live. This week in DFS, it feels honestly like a little bit like cheating. Like, I don't know how you can fit all these guys in lineup this week. If you go with Taysom at tight end and his ceiling hits, like you just kind of break the slate. McBride costs so much too. I don't think you can really get him in. But Kyle Williams and Taysom both priced so low that I'm able to get the Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr. stack in this game. I'm not bringing it back with anyone on the Colts. And then I'm going Saquon and James Cook in that game. I'm going with Jamar Chase as well against the Cardinals, who definitely could be the wide receiver one, probably will be the wide receiver one on the slate today. I'm getting Genty as well versus the Giants. I mean, I don't know how I'm able to fit all these guys in. I'm going with Taysom and Kyle Williams. That's why, but I feel pretty good about this as a starting point for all of you in DFS this week. My favorite stacks of the week in DFS for week 17. I do like this Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr. stack. I think this is going to come in under-owned. A lot of people are going to be going with the Burrow stacks and the Jacoby Brissett stacks. I actually like the Trevor Lawrence ones, I think, more, especially with Brian Thomas Jr. We haven't really seen like a real ceiling game from BTJ in quite some time. I think we could see it in this spot versus the Colts. I like the Saquon James Cook stack, and I do like the Jamar Chase, Trey McBride stack. I don't think you can build lineups without Jamar Chase today. The 3 free player props, I like Elijah Higgins over 20 receiving yards. I like Kyle Williams over whatever yards they end up setting for him. There was no props out for him yet. Let's actually just take a quick look here. Were there any props posted for Kyle Williams? It's still just a touchdown. I mean, give us the Kyle Williams props, man. How is there no yards prop for him? I mean, just cowardly from the Bucs this morning. They got to post one, man. And if they post it, I'm counting it as an official player prop. We'll be placing that after the live, assuming it's posted. And then I also like Brian Thomas Jr. over 46.5 receiving yards as well. Chat, you got to let me know when you see a Kyle Williams prop out there in the wild, because I mean, can't believe they aren't posting one. All right, on to the start sit segment. Get an answer. I'm going to try to get every single start sit, guys, in the chat. I'm really going to try to get to every single one today when it counts the most. Flex 1, wide receiver, Waddle, Wilson, Henderson. And just as a reminder, guys, this is the finals. There's a tendency all season to overthink, to overtweak. Like, this is not the week to overthink it. You know, look at the WalterPicks App projections. Look at the player prop markets. You know, look at the total yards, the touchdown odds, and go with a better play today in the finals. You know, don't lose sleep all offseason because you overthought it. You played a clearly worse play. And there's going to be there's a few guys that I do like more than their prop lines and their projections this week that I'll try to talk some people into. But in general, this is not an overthink it week here in the finals. This is a play your best plays type of week. All right, Waddle, Wilson, Henderson. Yeah, this one's interesting. The Pats running backs are really interesting with Trevion Henderson healthy now. Ramondre was going to be set to absolutely smash the Jets if Henderson was out. Usually we see guys miss at least one game when they enter the concussion protocol. Not the case for Trevion Henderson. Waddle projects the best. One flex, one receiver. Yeah, you bench Michael Wilson here. I'm benching Michael Wilson. I'm playing Waddle and Trevion Henderson for sure. Michael Wilson, not a must start. He's really not a must start today with Marv back and the matchup that they have. T. Higgins or Drake London, it's T. Yeah, this one's T. So the Cardinals, guys, they're missing 5 defensive starters and almost all those in the secondary. Like, you kind of can't bench the Bengals passing attack today. First year subscriber, thanks for the help. Thanks for subscribing for your first year, man. Shuck or Williams? It's Caleb. It's Caleb for sure. Shuck is like in play as a sleeper quarterback, but I'm not benching Caleb Williams. Sam, good morning. Champ game, 9K on the line. 2 questions for you. Let's go, man. Nothing like championship Sunday morning. We grinded all season to get the opportunity this week 17 Sunday morning. We got to take advantage of it, man. Jacobs put up nothing, and I'm worried now. Yeah, Jacobs was the stone cold worst possible outcome for Jacobs last night. Could not have been worse. I know Sam's he was sweating a Jacobs start sit between him and Carter and Corum, and I think he ended up going Jacobs, and I'm sure he's going to be in a bad mood when he hops on the live shortly. Wait on Kittle / Tongas or start Fannin? Yes, Fannin. 100%. There's no waiting. Kittle's not playing. He's not playing. He's unlikely to play. I think within our decisions this morning, we assume Kittle's not playing because that's the report that he's unlikely to play. Saints defense or Jags defense? Let me know. Yeah, I think it's Jags. I think I go Jags defense over Saints defense. Shows the Panthers played Friday. Let me see if I can. Get this fixed here with the Panthers, Seahawks. Don't really. Yeah, we're getting that fixed right now. Should be able to fix that pretty quickly. Second question, yeah, the Jags defense over the Saints defense there. Brissett, McBride, and Carter stack, is that safe? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe. The only sketchy thing about the Cardinals offense today is they're missing their starting left tackle and starting left guard. Brissett's coming off his worst game as well, but running backs and tight ends have just completely destroyed the Bengals like all season. I honestly think like Carter and McBride are almost a little safer than Brissett. Elijah Higgins, Taysom, Tongas. Yeah, I think I would go Taysom over Elijah Higgins because they both come with a ton of risk. I would go Taysom over Tongas too. Washington or Godwin. I think I lean Washington over Godwin, and then Hall, Gainwell, Hendy, and Had. Who's Had? Yeah, you probably go Gainwell and Henderson though. Seahawks or Steelers defense? I'd probably go Seahawks over Steelers defense. Stevenson or Walker? Oh man, I want to start Mondre this week. Yeah, we got Walker over Mondre. I think I probably would go Mondre over Walker. Walker has a higher ceiling, arguably. Luther Burden or Michael Wilson already up 25. I'm going Burden over Michael Wilson. Oh, gosh, I don't think I can say that so confidently. I do really want to start Burden though. Let me see where we have these guys at. Yeah, Michael Wilson's just ahead of Burden. I would go Luther Burden over Michael Wilson. Better matchup for Luther Burden. Better player, I think, with Luther Burden. The Bengals have not actually been bad versus receivers because they're so bad versus the tight ends and the running backs. I would go Burden, I think, over Michael Wilson. I'm definitely playing Michael Wilson over Marvin Harrison. I would play Luther Burden over Kyle Williams, and I'm pretty in on Kyle Williams. Best kickers to play today. Yeah, I've done a lot of kicker research. Let me pull up my must starts, must benches. If you're down bad, like Taysom definitely is the ceiling play to consider. Yeah, so for kickers, I really like Harrison Mevis this week. By the way, on this live stream last week, I called the number one kicker. The Saints kicker last week. I called him. He was available in like almost every single league. I don't think he projects great again this week. Charlie Smith. Yeah, he actually does. He projects his kicker 4. He had 19 points last week. I don't like him as much in that game versus the Titans. I do really like Mevis though, because you got the Monday night fear factor. Can either win you the championship or help you come back in the championship on Monday night. I don't think the Rams offense gets stopped. And maybe that means a lot of extra points. But his floor is like near 10 points in this game. If the Rams aren't going to score under 30, like they just need to get stopped in the red zone once or twice, and suddenly Mevis is at 15 points. So yeah, I do like Mevis a decent amount. I do think Charlie Smith is in play again against the Titans. I like the guys playing in the domes. There's a decent amount of rain out there today. I prefer not to go Zane Gonzalez though. Yeah, for me, my kicker play of the week is Mevis. Cam Little's in play. I mean, definitely McPherson is in play. I think the Cardinals kicker's in play too, Chad Ryland, with the over-under in that game. Both the 49ers and Bears kickers are in play too, with the over-under in that game. I wouldn't play the kickers in the Bills-Eagles game with the weather in that one. Warren, Swift, or Walker. Yeah, that one's pretty close too. I think that one's Kenneth Walker. Bucky Irving or Tyrone Tracy. Yeah, we have Tracy just ahead of Bucky. I'm a little bit nervous about Tracy, man. I think I would lean Bucky in that matchup over Tyrone Tracy. It's tough because Bucky Irving's not the goal line back. Like, Sean Tucker is the goal line back. It just really caps his ceiling. But Tracy's in a full 50-50 timeshare with Devin Singletary in a game that the team is desperate to lose. Mevis or Cam Little? Yeah, I think we had Cam Little there ahead of Mevis. It's probably Cam Little. It's probably Cam Little over Mevis. I like both them a lot. I like Mevis in the dome in a really good game environment. But I think Cam Little is probably a little bit better. Strange or Loveland? Yes, super close one here between Strange and Loveland. They're back-to-back. They're 0.2 points apart in the projections. Kyle Williams or Michael Wilson? I don't think you can risk it with Kyle Williams for Michael Wilson. I do like Kyle Williams too. Can I go to receivers? Yeah, I got you. Oh, man, Strange versus Loveland. It's a better matchup for Strange. It's a good matchup for both. I really think Loveland is a bit underrated. He's consistently getting 4 or 5 targets every single game. Burden is back this week, which is probably not great news for Loveland. Strange projects a little bit better. He's in a slightly better matchup too. I'm more confident that this Bears 49ers game is close though than I am this Jags Colts game is close. These two teams just played too, the Jags and the Colts. Strange had 5.7 the last time, 3 catches, 27 yards. He did have 6 targets. He did have another 7 targets last week. Man, I think it's Strange. But I would argue that Loveland has the higher ceiling. Good luck in every single one of your championships as well. Appreciate you guys and the positivity all season. I'm playing Trevion Henderson over Carter. Rivers, Rodgers, or Ward. That's just a gross one, man. You can't start Rivers or Ward or Rodgers. Oh, God. That's definitely a choose the worst evil there. Man, it's Ward. It's Ward, I think. Have a 37% chance to win the chip after Henry last night. Wanda, yeah, it's Myers. It's 100% Myers. Taysom, Tonjes, Waller, or Myers, or Michael Mayer. Yeah, so if you need a ceiling, like Taysom's got the ceiling. You know, if you went up against Derrick Henry, I actually think playing Taysom makes a lot of sense. All right, we're going to refresh the app. I think we got the Panthers game back in there. If not, it should be in here very soon. But I actually think I probably would go Taysom here. Yeah, we got the Panthers game back in. If you close and open your app, Panthers game should be back into the WalterPicks app now. None of these guys are really like must starts. And yeah, so Ted McMillan was going to be pouring in the Bills-Eagles game. Tyrone McMillan expected to play week 17 despite being questionable with an illness. You can still feel safe starting him. There's also, by the way, there's only 2 late window games today. 2. There's 7 early window games. I mean, my God. We basically have 2. We basically have a extra primetime slot. There's 2 late window games. One of them is the Giants Raiders for the first overall pick, and the other is the Eagles Bills. It's like another primetime game with the Eagles Bills, basically. And there's 7 early window games. Very, very odd. All right. Enough of my ranting. Taysom, I would go Taysom for the ceiling here. If you're not going to go for the ceiling with Taysom, and let me just explain the Taysom stuff really quick again. He had 19 opportunities last week between rushing, receiving, and passing. Like, he has a ceiling that is really only comparable to like McBride. Because of that, he could throw a touchdown and run for a touchdown and catch a touchdown all in the same game. He could have multiple touchdowns, like very within his range of outcomes. But the reason he had such a big role last week, supposedly, was because it was his last home game. You know, this is probably his last season. Taysom is now 35 years old. Probably his last season. It was his last home game, so they wanted to give him the ball a bunch. So will they do that again? Like, very uncertain. Very, very uncertain. I lean towards probably something similar to last week, because it's not like he did bad. He had 42 rushing yards, 36 receiving yards. He's competing with Audric Estime and Evan Hull, you know, not strong competition. So yeah, I think there is a ceiling with Taysom Hill. I probably would play him here. If not, I think Michael Mayer is probably the play for the floor. I would go Loveland over Taysom. Going for the three-peat with Walter here, also have a bit of cushion after King Henry. Yeah, you're not playing Taysom if you have cushion. You're playing Loveland, 100%. And you're playing Trevor Lawrence. Guys, you have to play Trevor Lawrence. There is absolutely no benching Trevor Lawrence here in week 17. He's been the QB1 in back-to-back weeks. Seahawks or Steelers defense? Yeah, both these defenses I like. Let me hop to the defense rankings here. Don't think I've actually pulled these up. Steelers defense is ranking as defense 2 for us. Seahawks is at defense 6. I think the Seahawks defense on paper is better than the Steelers defense. Like independent from matchup. The matchup here versus the Browns is so good though. It's the Steelers. Yeah, it's the Steelers defense. The only defense we have ranked ahead of the Steelers is the Pats. Sharp or T. Higgins, you cannot bench the Bengals passing attack today. No benching the Bengals passing attack. Mevis is my favorite kicker of the week. Longtime subscriber here. Walter likes Giants defense. Would you play them over Saints? Oh, man. Yeah, it's a close call. I mean, the Giants defense is not good, but they get the Raiders, who are benching Brock Bowers. They had 15 points last week. They scored a touchdown in this game. They did. Man, it's a close call. Saints allowing the most sacks. Saints had 19 points versus the Jets last week without a touchdown. I honestly feel like the Saints are a little bit safer, but I do kind of lean towards the Giants here. Marvin Harrison Jr., Luther Burden. Yeah, not close in my opinion. It's Luther Burden. I don't think you can start Marvin Harrison Jr. Shuck or Williams. Yeah, it's Caleb Williams over Shuck for sure. Flex 1, Devontae Smith, Tyrone Tracy, or Trey Tucker. I'm really struggling with the Tyrone Tracy stuff. Hopefully Samps can help me think through that a little bit when he comes on the live. Because Tracy projects pretty well. The matchup's good for Tracy. The role's been like okay. Like he should get 15 plus touches based on his recent role. Then you got Devontae Smith playing in the pouring rain in a game that's probably going to be pretty run heavy. The Bills have been so bad versus running backs. The Eagles have no receivers. James Cook is by far the best player in offense, obviously outside of Josh Allen. And then Trey Tucker, like you kind of can't start Trey Tucker in your fantasy football finals when you have Tracy and Devontae Smith. I think it's Tracy, man. I think this one's Tracy. I would go Michael Mayer over Tongas. Yeah, no need to spam, guys. I'm going to get to all the comments. I'm going to get to literally all the comments today. Have Kittle. So Strange, Gesicki, or Waller. If he's in, do I start him over one of the two? Kittle's not going to be in. And Noah Fant is still questionable, which is pretty big for Gesicki. I would go Strange here either way, though. I would go Spears over Sampson. I'm playing Waddle over Taysom and over Burden. I'm playing Lawrence. I'm playing Trevor Lawrence over Josh Allen. There's not a single quarterback ranked ahead of Trevor Lawrence. Tet or BTJ? I'm going BTJ here. I actually really like BTJ. Yeah, DFS lineup. I got you, Ryan. Sorry. I this DFS slate is honestly a little cracked. Like it's a little broken. We can get the QB1 from the last 2 weeks against the Colts, stacked with Brian Thomas Jr. for extremely cheap. I'm putting Kyle Williams and Taysom as my value plays here, my cheap value plays. Kyle Williams is near minimum priced. He's probably going to play almost every snap for the Pats today against a horrible Jets defense. The prop markets, I mean, the books are terrified to post the Kyle Williams props. I put it in a blank Kyle Williams prop here because they won't post a line prop for Kyle Williams. I guess they're waiting for the Demario Douglas injury news. I don't think that really impacts Kyle Williams that much, but I like his props today. I like him in DFS here as well. Jamar Chase is, in my opinion, the highest floor and highest ceiling receiver on the slate. Today, the Cardinals are missing 5 defensive starters, most of those guys in the secondary, practice squad secondary against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase today. James Cook and Saquon stacked in what I think is going to be a pretty run-heavy game from both teams. Ashton Genty versus the Giants, he could easily get to 30 touches today, even in a game that they don't really want to win. I still think we see Genty get a pretty large role in a really good matchup. So don't be shocked if Genty's RB1 this week. And I'm going Taysom because he's priced so low. And he had 19 opportunities last week, including the passing and receiving game. Like could easily score 2 touchdowns. There's not really another tight end that could easily score 2 touchdowns. And the floor is near 0 points still for Taysom. But yeah, I like Taysom a lot. I like the Browns defense there versus the Steelers as well. That's the DFS lineup for today. Feels a little bit cracked. I got Saquon, James Cook, Jamar Chase, Genty, and Brian Thomas Jr. all in the same lineup. Thank you for answering my question. Got you. Appreciate it. Yeah, guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're almost at 17,000 YouTube subscribers. If you're watching live on TikTok, smash the follow button. Do appreciate it, guys. Here down the stretch of the season actually does help out way more than you could possibly realize. First AJ Brown question today. I thought we would get more, honestly, AJ Brown questions than we've gotten. I don't think he's an easy start sit today. Honestly, all 3 of these guys rank really high. You got to pick 2 here. Yeah, it's benching A.J. Brown. I would bench A.J. Brown for Mike Evans and T. Higgins. DFS again, please. Yeah, Nick, I got you. I'll pull it up again. If you're not going to pay up for McBride, I do think paying down for Taysom just makes a ton of sense today. Bucky or Henderson. The Pats running backs, I feel like project lower than they probably should. But both of them could bust because there's 2 of them. Bucky Irving's not the goal line back though. With Sean Tucker getting most of the goal line work. It's a good matchup for Bucky versus the Dolphins. But I think I've been a little worse versus the run recently. They had a stretch of dominance versus running backs. I think that's cooled off a bit. Yeah, Chase Brown had 33 points. Last week, he was the running back 1. Versus the Dolphins, Kenneth Gainwell went for 20. They've allowed a lot of catches to running backs. I like the Bucky receiving stuff today. Wonder what his receptions line is. Tyler Warren or Taysom Hill. 54% chance to win. Yeah, this is a tough call because this is a true floor ceiling decision here between Tyler Warren and Taysom. Taysom projects better at base, I think, over. Does he project better? Just behind, actually. Projects just behind. Man, look at this. I mean, 8 times the ceiling of Tyler Warren for Taysom Hill. Did they give Taysom Hill 19 opportunities because it was his last home game? Will that stick? It's a true coin flip, in my opinion. I don't think there's an obvious yes or no answer there. It's a good matchup, too, for Tyler Warren. The Jags have not been good versus tight ends. They're a good defense. They've really been a pass funnel defense. Recently, the tight ends haven't done much. Tyler Warren just played this team. He had 2 catches, 15 yards. If you're in a really competitive finals matchup, which most of you are, man, I honestly think I would lean Taysom personally. What's the real ceiling for Tyler Warren with Phillip Rivers starting? Like, he did look better last week. Warren did have 9 targets last week. Taysom had 19 opportunities. I'm going Taysom. Lawrence, Purdy, or Brissett? Yes, Lawrence. It's Lawrence 100%. I actually think I would go Purdy over Brissett too. But it's Lawrence. Like, you can't bench Lawrence right now. Taysom Hill, Elijah Higgins, Parkinson, Marv, or Pearsall. 64% chance to win. And this is tight end premium. So you're not starting Marv. Like, just absolutely get Marv way out of this question. And I don't think you start Elijah Higgins here either. Man, this is a tough one. Taysom's like a little less appealing, I think, in tight end premium. Honestly, Elijah Higgins is kind of interesting in tight end premium. You probably go one of these tight ends. Man, it might be Elijah Higgins. Higgins over Marv actually probably does make sense in tight end premium. Man, I think I'd go Elijah Higgins. BTJ or Waddle? Yes, I'm pretty in on Brian Thomas Jr. today. I still don't think you can start him over Waddle. Waddle still has the better chance at the 30% plus target share. Let me hop over to the receiver ranks here. He was at 31%, I believe, last week. Yeah. Brian Thomas projects better still. Oh, gosh. It's Brian Thomas. It's Brian Thomas over Waddle. Yeah, Brian Thomas did worse last week. I think we see a 20-point game, honestly, from Brian Thomas today. That's why I put him in my DFS lineup. The ceiling is higher. The quarterback is, you get the QB1. You get the wide receiver 2 for the QB1. Or you get the wide receiver 1 for what, the QB20 in Quinn Ewers, QB22 maybe even. It's BTJ. It's BTJ. Burden, Wilson, Jennings, pick 2. Yeah, go with the 2 guys tonight. I think we have Wilson projected just ahead of Burden. I like Burden more, man. I've been high on Burden really since the NFL draft. It's always a little sketchy starting guys in their first game back from injury. There's an ankle injury for Burden, but he's off the injury report. We just saw Josh Downs, Alec Pierce absolutely cook the 49ers defense. The 49ers offense isn't going to be stopped. And then Juwan Jennings, like without Kittle, I mean, such a good chance to score. I started Henry. He started Zay, Sutton, Ferguson, Broncos D, and Nico. So I'm up big. Yeah, it's Burden over McMillan. I don't think it matters that you're up big. Like it's Burden over McMillan, I think, for me too. I think I probably would play McMillan over Wandale. And Wandale's a tough one. The Giants, this Giants game is so tough to me, with both teams so incentivized to lose. Again, the players aren't going to try to lose. Man, Wandale projects so much better than Ted here. It's a better matchup for Wandale. It's like you're banking your fantasy finals here on a team that got off 0 pass attempts in the first quarter last week. They threw the ball 13 times in the whole game. Guys, Wandale, we looked at this earlier, last week, 46% target share. 6 targets. I've never seen anything like it. Crazy. If they just get a normal amount of pass attempts off, though, we have Wandale for a 33% target share, like pretty confident. I think it is Wandale. Looking at this comparison, I think it is Wandale. Pierce or Downs? It's Downs. It's Downs over Pierce. I don't think we see Pierce repeat what he did last week. Lost Kittle. Cortland and Pickens were mediocre. Taysom or strange. If you need the ceiling, it is Taysom. If you really need the ceiling, it is Taysom Hill, which it sounds like you do. Diggs, Pollard, Evans, or Devonta. Yeah, I think this one's Evans. Yeah, it's Evans. It's Evans. It's really between Evans and Diggs here too. I'd bench Pollard and Devonta pretty easily for both Evans and Diggs. Sam, fighting for 2 ships. Thanks to WalterPicks. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, by the way, if I don't get your start sit, it's the best place to go. But also, if you subscribe now, you get access for the full year next year. This is the lowest price you'll be able to get for all the fantasy tools next season. Seriously, you want to lock that in if you haven't already. But shout out to you, Harrison, for supporting the WalterPicks app. Pumped to see you in 2 championships. Need some flex help. Jennings, Dowdle, DJ Moore, half PPR. Already playing Swift and Burden, FYI. It's between Jennings and DJ Moore, and I think it's Jennings. I think it's Jennings with Kittle out. Man, DJ, yeah, especially because you're already playing all these Bears. I think you do go Jennings here. Man, it's a close one. I don't think you can play. You'll be able to see too going into Sunday Night Football what your percent is at that point. The higher floor thing to do is to play DJ Moore, because then you just get the whole Bears offense. At least 2 of those 3 guys are probably going to have a pretty good game, unless it ends up being a Monangai, Colson Loveland game, which seems pretty unlikely that both those things happen. So yeah, if you end up needing floor, I'm okay going DJ Moore, but I prefer Jennings just straight up, and definitely if you need the ceiling. Kyle Williams or Parker Washington in half PPR. DFS lineup, please. Yeah, let me talk through the DFS lineup again quick. I'll pull that up. I did just have that up on the YouTube. Come to the YouTube live if you want the DFS lineup for the day. I'll talk through the free player props again too. I like Kyle Williams a lot today. I put Kyle Williams as a blank check in the player props today because they are scared to set his receiving line for some reason. I guess they're waiting for the Demario Douglas news, but there's no Keyshawn Boutte. There's no Mac Daddy Hollins either. And Demario Douglas is also questionable. So we have these guys actually projected pretty close. The matchup is really good for both of these guys. Parker Washington's coming off a huge game. So 26.5 points, 145 and a touchdown. But we just saw the 3 previous games. He actually missed a game in there, but his 2 previous games. He missed the last game versus the Colts. But his two previous games, he went under 9 points. I don't think he's like this high floor play, but he's got a similar ceiling to Kyle Williams. I probably would go Parker Washington over Kyle Williams. Yeah, it's Diggs over Michael Wilson for sure. Carter or Warren? Yeah, it's Carter. Go to running backs. Yeah, I got you with the running backs. He's startable, guys. He's definitely startable. Pick 2, Henderson, Evans, Myers, Michael Wilson, or Tet. It's the first 2 here. God, it's actually probably Evans and Myers. I probably bench Henderson, Michael Wilson, and Tet. I go Mike Evans and Jacoby Myers here. Is this live? Yep, Nick, this is live. Let's go to the DraftKings lineup here. I'm going to Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr. stack with Saquon and James Cook mini stack in that game. Getting Jamar Chase and Genty in this lineup too, and I'm sneaking in low-priced Kyle Williams, Taysom, and I'm going with the Browns defense. That's the DFS lineup for me today. Why Gainwell over Tracy? Because Gainwell's putting up wide receiver numbers, like legit wide receiver numbers for Kenneth Gainwell. He has 15 catches. He's got 18 catches over his last 3 games, averaging 6 catches a game. He had 5 for 78 and a touchdown just through the air last week. They were without DK Metcalf. They were without Calvin Austin today. So yeah, I mean, Kenneth Gainwell has a pretty high floor in PPR because of it. Let me give you the Weatherman Sam report today. There's not any super concerning weather today. The most concerning weather is in that the Bills-Eagles game. It's going to be heavy rain throughout the whole game. Like heavy rain. There's a flood watch in the area. There's some wind and some potential rain in the Cardinals-Bengals game, but the over-under hasn't moved at all. The Steelers-Browns game, there might be some rain, some possible downpours during the game, but the over-under in that game also hasn't really moved much. Let me actually check that. Yeah, the over-under hasn't moved at all. None of these over-unders have really moved. The Cardinals, Bengals over-unders actually moved up. There might be some rain in the Pats, Jets, Saints, Titans, Cardinals, Bengals, Steelers, Browns. None of that's concerning amount of rain. There will be some significant rain in the Eagles, Bills. That's the Weatherman Sam report. Really nothing I'm overly concerned about, but certainly worth being aware of. Tonjes or Taysom Hill, I need floor. I would not call Taysom a floor. I would not call him a floor. He's going to project better than Tonjes, I think, though. Gosh. It's Taysom. I still think it's Taysom. Start Shuck and Taysom for the chip. Yeah, you could do much worse than both these guys. I like Elijah Higgins at tight end too. I do think he's interesting. I probably would play Taysom over him though. Carter or Sampson? It's Michael Carter over Sampson. Let me hop over to the wide receiver ranks. I'm playing Waddle. I think I'd play Waddle over Trevion Henderson. I don't know about that actually. I want to start these Pats running backs versus the Jets. It's just which of them is it going to be? Like, I trust the Jets defense being awful more than I trust Quinn Ewers being good. Yeah, I think I would go Henderson over Waddle looking at this. Burden, Marv, Tracy, and Corm. You can't start Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a must bench this week. I got him in the must bench category. My must benches this week. You can't start Jackson Dart, Bryce Young, Geno Smith, Shadur Sanders, Philip Rivers, or Rodgers. At running back, I don't want to start Dylan Sampson. There's definitely a PPR like floor ceiling there in the receiving game, but I really don't want to start him. Breece Hall, Zach Charbonnet are benches for me. A receiver, I don't want to start Devontae, Pearsall. Pearsall actually would remove from the must bench list now with the Kittle news. DeMario Douglas, Marvin Harrison Jr. is also a must bench, I think. Goddard is also a must bench in that Eagles-Bills game, down point rating, Bills' #1 defense versus tight ends. Burden, Marv, Tracy, or Corum. God, Tracy's so tough for me to confidently trust. And I do really like Luther Burden's ceiling. I honestly think I lean Burden here. I think I lean Burden here over Tracy. They project just 2 points apart. I have more faith in this Bears offense, so much more faith in them than the Giants offense today. I like Corum a lot too, but I think I honestly lean Burden, especially if you need a ceiling. Had Henry with 45 yesterday, but now Kittle is unlikely. Taysom, Strange, Juwan, Loveland, or Tonjes. Then Steelers, Saints, Giants, or Jags D. It's the Steelers defense. Oh man, the Jags defense is actually maybe ahead of them. Yeah, it's the Steelers. It's the Steelers. I would play the Steelers over the Jags. Only defense I like more than the Steelers is the Pats. And then at tight end, sounds like you just need a floor. I wouldn't play Taysom if you just need a floor. I'd play Juwan. If you just need a floor, it's Juwan that gives you the floor. Him, Strange, Loveland, all really good options, all pretty comparable options. I think Juwan Johnson has the safest floor of the whole group, though. I mean, look at the floor he's had. He hasn't been under 7 points since week 6. It's been 11 weeks since he's gotten under 7 points. He's got at least 4 catches in every single game. So yeah, I think I'd lean Juwan there for the floor. Taysom is the ceiling play, not the floor play, I don't think. I'd play Burden over Devontae Smith. I'd play Diggs over Burden. Yeah, I actually really like Genty today, even though the Raiders are incentivized to lose and probably going to lose. Pick 2.5 PPR. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. We'll try to prioritize every super chat we get in the YouTube live. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in all season. If you're just tuning in for the first time today, shout out to you as well. Appreciate everyone supporting this live, getting me to get to call this a part of my job. Seriously, a true blessing. Dowdle, Hall, Carter, Taysom Hill, or Ramondre Stevenson. I think this is Stevenson and Carter. Dowdle's in play, but so risky. Breece Hall is a must bench, and Taysom Hill's not. Taysom Hill's not, I don't think, a part of this, unless you really need a ceiling. If you really, really need ceiling, then you can consider Taysom, but I think Carter and Stevenson have a similar ceiling, honestly. Bucky or Hendo standard? Bucky somehow feels safer. Yeah, I kind of agree. He feels a little safer. Yeah, I mean, if you're scared of missing the boom game, then you certainly would want to go Henderson. I mean, this is such a good matchup for Henderson. It's a really good matchup for Bucky, too. The Dolphins' run defense has kind of started to fall apart again the last couple of weeks. It's Bucky if you're playing it safe, and Nintendo if you're going for the ceiling. You got to decide what you want, man. I would play Juwan over Tonjes. Kyle Williams or Tet. My God, here we are, week 17. I don't know how you bench Tet for Kyle Williams. And I like Kyle Williams a lot. He's one of the free player props today of the live stream. Let's take a quick peek. Have they posted any Kyle Williams props yet? No Kyle Williams props. What a sham. Absolute sham. They only have a touchdown prop out. We're 2 hours from kickoff and no receiving yards props. Kyle Williams receiving props are already right, guys. Pick one for flex: Tet, Jalen Waddle, or Robinson. What Robinson are we talking about here? It must be Wandale. This has got to be a Wandale question. Oh, man. Wandale versus Waddle. I'd play them both, I think, over Tet. Man, it's Waddle. Yeah, Wandale, no problem. It's Waddle. I would go Wandale here, though. I would play Wandale over McMillan and Sampson. Hey, Sam, long-time sub, and can't thank you enough. Appreciate you, Zach. In championship, 2 out of 3 leagues. Let's go, man. Kittle out. Yeah, a lot of people with Kittle out today. Let me hop back over to the tight end ranks here on both lives. Remember, these are the median projection tight end ranks. So there's some floor ceiling nuance here to think through, especially with Taysom, which I don't see Taysom in this one. Tonjes, Strange, Meyer. Yeah, this one's strange. I think this one's strange. All these guys at the top, like from Loveland, Strange, Juwan, Fannin, obviously Pitts and McBride, they all have both floors and ceilings. I don't think that any of these guys outside of Pitts and McBride, maybe Fannin, have the same ceiling as Taysom. But the floor ceiling combo I do think is better for Loveland, Strange, Juwan, Fannin. This one's strange. Also, Ken, ETN, Hendo, you can't bench ETN. I like Hendo ceiling too. I would play Hendo over Kenneth Walker. But ETN's like really not benchable right now. Top 8 running back, left. He's had 1 game under 15 points in his last 9 games. He's getting receiving work. We should see Tootin probably back today, but I don't think that really matters. Start to flex PPR, BTJ, Michael Wilson, Trevion. Yeah, you're benching Michael Wilson. Bench Michael Wilson, play Brian Thomas Jr., play Trevion Henderson. Need ceiling. Henderson, Warren, Burden, BTJ, Waddle. Already starting Jacoby. Need 1 running backs and a flex. Henderson's definitely the ceiling over Warren at running back. I mean, Henderson has an insane ceiling versus the Jets. So it's definitely Henderson here first. Then Burden, Brian Thomas Jr., and Waddle all have ceilings here. Let's compare these guys. I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. might have the highest ceiling of the group. Yeah, it's Brian Thomas. It's Brian Thomas for the ceiling as well. Barner, Tonjes, or Sampson in the flex. Barner, Tonjes, or Sampson? God. They all project within half a point. Let me get Barner in here. Wow, look how close this is. All projected within 0.2 points if you're on the YouTube Live looking at this comparison. By the way, if you're watching live on TikTok, I'm telling you it's a better viewing experience over on the YouTube Live where I can pull up comments on screen, can share screen to the comparisons we're talking through as well. Yeah, this one I probably would go Sampson over Tonjes and Barner. I would play DJ Moore, I think, over Michael Wilson. It's not a great spot for Michael Wilson, guys. It's really not. Championship week. Let's go, man. Got 2 for you. Waddle or Jacoby? Yeah, it's Jacoby over Waddle. And then Strange, Warren, Waller, or Taysom. It's Strange. Unless you're really going for ceiling, in which case I'd be okay going Taysom. Otherwise, though, it's Strange. It's Lawrence over Drake May, and it's Jacoby over Gainwell. Jacoby over Gainwell, and Lawrence over everybody. It's Trevor Lawrence over literally everybody. Tonjes or Hill, non-PPR. It's got to be Taysom. Taysom in non-PPR is actually borderline unbenchable. Borderline unbenchable. Let me go to the non-PPR rankings here. Taysom's tight end 2 in the non-PPR ranks. Crazy stuff. He's like close to McBride here. No, their tight ends are getting carries. You can get 10 carries today. I mean, and he gets passing too. We're not projecting any passing work, by the way, for Taysom in these projections, but he's very capable of getting a passing attempt or two, like we saw last week. Non-PPR, not benchable, Taysom Hill. He's one of the most scoring setting sensitive players. Yeah, I'm going Lawrence over May. I'm going Jacoby over Gainwell. Start Pitts over Jacoby Myers. I have McBride in my tight end slot. I don't think I would go Pitts over Jacoby Myers. I don't think I would do that. They probably project close. Yeah, it's Myers. It's Myers over Pitts. And yeah, you can't bench McBride, so I get it. Morning, Sam. Need a boom play down 20 in the ship. Gibbs and losing Bowers. Picked up Trey Tucker. You need pick 2 here. Yeah, this one's Brian Thomas Jr. and DJ Moore. Definitely 2 really good ceiling plays. Here, do not start Trey Tucker in your fantasy finals. I get it. He's playing the Giants. I do not want to put my faith in my finals matchup on that game if I don't have to. You have 2 really good ceiling plays here in BTJ and DJ Moore. I think that's the way to play it, Alvin. And good luck in your fantasy football finals. First time using the WalterPicks app and made it to 2 championships, but my main ship, I'm struggling. Now I sat Christian Watson. Need to pick 2, Burden, DJ Moore, and Pierce. Yeah, all these in the Sunday night game. I would probably just rock with Burden and DJ Moore. If you really need ceiling, then I might go Burden and Pearsall. If you need floor, though, I don't hate going with the 2 Bears players, Goddard, Strange, Barner. Yeah, Strange. You got to bench Goddard, and Barner is not even close to Strange. No Kittle and Fannin. No, Fannon's going to play. Fannon's playing. It's Fannin. Yeah, you're playing Fannin. Fannon's going to play. You're playing Fannin. Have open flex to Burden, Kyron, or DK. It's got to be Kyron over all those guys. The Rams offense is just not going to be stopped by the Falcons. You got to start your Rams players 100%. Yeah, I think that's how I would do that. Let me pull this up here, and we're going to welcome Samps to the live. Samps, week 17 championship morning, man. How are things? Pumped to get your thoughts on some of this slate.
As a Giants fan who played Josh Jacobs in the fantasy championship, I'm doing remarkably terrible, but I'm happy to be here. We're gonna need a miracle today. I'm down, projected to lose by 20. So we're really going to need 25 actually. So we're really going to need some of my guys to come through, but the other team has Trey McBride and Christian McCaffrey. So I might be just toast. There's really nothing. I mean, I could try. We're going to try, never give up. John Cena taught me that, but we're going to try.
This was not Kyron Williams. This was Kyle Williams. So yeah, I definitely would go Burden in that case. If that is not Kyron Williams. Appreciate the clarification there. And yeah, Sam's the Josh Jacobs run out. It couldn't have been worse. It was the stone cold. It was the worst possible run out. He was basically only out there to run for 0 yards every time he touched the ball. Malik Willis looked like a top 5 QB in the league too. I'm super impressive. Malik Willis performance. I mentioned it earlier in the live. I actually risked it and benched Brissett for Malik Willis in one of my finals matchups. Just a little nervous about the offensive line for the Cardinals. They're missing their starting left tackle, left guard. He's probably still a good start, but I felt decent about the rushing for Malik Willis. Ended up obviously working out very fortunately there for me. But yeah, it's not too late, Samps, to come back. We definitely can talk through the ceiling plays. A lot of people in similar spots after so many games played. If you went against Derrick Henry, if you started Josh Jacobs, Jahmyr Gibbs, complete flop to there was a lot of flops so far in week 17, but we can overcome it. We definitely can overcome it.
Yeah, LaFleur needs to be held accountable. Or they need to change the injury rules or something, because you can't. It's something I was thinking about all last night. You can't just say, oh, he's off the injury report, he's good to go, and then play him for 7 snaps. It just doesn't. It's not there's millions of dollars being lost because of it. It's ridiculous. So I'm not even selfishly for my team. It just doesn't make sense that there's not another rule, some rule you have to be explicit with how healthy someone is. I know it's personnel decisions and all that. That's not what we're here to talk about, but I just had to get a rant off to the public watching, because it's not fair. And a lot of us who are in this live who had Josh Jacobs are trying to make a comeback here.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone. I totally agree too. More transparent injury news would be certainly preferred from me as well. But yeah, lots to talk through on the slate today. Sam, I honestly want to start with this Giants game because
Okay.
I got Tyron Tracy in one of the leagues. I'm in the finals, and I don't really have a great second option, but I'm nervous to start Tyron Tracy in this game. On paper, he's their lead back. He should get at least 15 touches. He's getting at least 15 touches a game. He's splitting the work down the middle with Singletary still getting 15 plus touches. It's clear this team wants to run. They had 0 pass attempts in the first quarter, and it was actually kind of working, low key for them too. The run game was actually kind of working for them last week. The matchup's not bad. Max Crosby's not playing. But so many guys aren't playing. Andrew Thomas is out in this game too. There's so much incentive to lose. It feels like more incentive to play Singletary a little bit more kind of in this game too. But if he's out there, the players are going to try. And right now we have Tracy. He's at running back 12. I would definitely play Kyron Williams over him. Maybe Henderson too. But I mean, the spot in this rankings just feels very scary to me. With Tracy, are you nervous for him too? What are your thoughts on how this game plays out?
Yeah, it's not just Andrew Thomas. They've ruled out the center, John Michael Schmitz, who's actually been playing some the best football of his career for the last month, and they like a lot of the inside zone concepts. So that's going to hurt too, regardless of who's on the defense. Their O-line looked horrible against the Vikings. Vikings are awesome defensively, so it's not the same situation, but I do think they're going to run the ball so much, insane amount. So I think Tyron Tracy is someone you could start. I am concerned though, this is the movable force, stoppable object, loser take all. No team has incentive to win. But the interesting thing is, I talked about this with Trevor on the projections team a little bit. It's if Pete Carroll knows he's going to be fired, which seems highly likely, what is his incentive to lose? It's kind of like Lovie Smith a couple of years ago where the Texans won that game at the end of the year. And the same thing with Mike Kafka. He knows he's not coming back, so he has no incentive to actually lose.
Right.
So I don't know. I just feel like it's more of these two teams are checked out as opposed to these two teams,
Yeah, I mean, flashbacks last year to the Pats in their last game. All they had to do was lose to the Bills. They got the first overall pick. Probably would have got Travis Hunter. And it was their coach knew he was going to be on the way out. He almost won in spite of the team because it was the worst situation for the team to win that game. It ended up being fine. They got a good offensive lineman out of it. But, yeah, I think that the players will be trying. The coaching staff will be trying. I actually I don't think you can possibly bench Genty.
No way.
No Bowers, too. He could get 30 touches in this game.
I strongly pushed back on the projections team when we were considering lowering him. I was I really don't think we should.
I agree. I agree with you the more I thought about that. I actually have him in my DFS lineup this week as well. There's actually some coach speak around it this week, too. They were we're missing our main weapon in Bowers, so, just more to Genty. That's, basically what the coaches said. So, yeah, he could definitely get 30 touches. The matchup's obviously unreal, too.
Pete Carroll doesn't strike me as someone who's wanting to lose either. You know what I mean? It doesn't strike me as one of those guys. It's that game. It's going to be right on at the same time as Bills Eagles. It's so funny. Two very exciting games for different reasons.
2 late window games today, Sam. So those are the two. It's complete dichotomy there. Let's jump to some of these start sits, and then we'll get to some of your takes, Sam's. Tyler Shuck or Dalton? I don't know. What do you mean by Dalton here, Sam? Maybe they mean Bryce. Maybe they meant Bryce Young or something. I
have no clue. I'm trying to think of maybe a correction it maybe had, a typo, but I'm just going to say Shuck because I don't know who Dalton is.
Maybe Darnold.
It's definitely Darnold. It's Darnold, 100%.
I would go Shuck. I would go Shuck over Darnold. And Sam, I'm playing Burden over Michael Wilson. Today, I feel like I've told a lot of people to start Burden. This is Michael Wilson and Burden, 2 of the most asked about players, I think, on the live so far, which makes sense. Michael Wilson, I think he projects one spot ahead in the receiver ranks for us. I prefer Burden ceiling. The game environment is so good for the Cardinals, but the Bengals are so bad versus tight ends and running backs. They've actually been good versus receivers. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be playing. And I love this spot for Luther Burden against the 49ers. We just saw them get cooked by Grandpa Rivers and Josh Downs and Alec Pierce last week. Luther Burden, I think, is my favorite ceiling Bears receiver today. Him and DJ Moore, one of these guys will have a big game, maybe both. The 49ers offense won't be stopped. And then similarly with Drake London, the Rams offense is not getting stopped by the Falcons. That's should mean plenty of passing for the Falcons. And Drake London, I feel is this kind of forgot about receiver right now, where I think most people know they kind of have to start him. But Sam, he's the wide receiver 6 still in points per game, despite a 5.7 point performance last week. He's the wide receiver 6. He's got the 5th most yards per game. He's still averaging over 80 yards per game. He played almost 70% of snaps last week, 24% target share. Like, I don't think this is a guy you bench in the finals in like almost any situation, unless you got like Jacoby Myers or Mike Evans, like those type of guys that I would start over him, but not Michael Wilson. And yeah, I personally like Burden more than Michael Wilson. You might disagree with that though. What do you think on that?
Well, I at first, if I had not seen like last night, the Cardinals said Marv's going to have his snaps monitored again. Last week he played 50% of snaps, and they have no incentive to roll Marv out there in like any high capacity. And if Wilson can just, the over-under is insane. So that's why it's kind of like if Marv only plays a certain amount of snaps, Wilson and McBride are going to get an insane amount of targets. I'm terrified to go against McBride. It's like the worst nightmare you could have possibly had is going against McBride when he plays the Bengals in the championship. But I don't know. I like Luther Burden a lot because I think he's shown a lot of things recently. He's more to me of a boom bust sort of guy. He's not really been a volume guy yet. But in that game, I'm also kind of like, I guess the Bears are playing for seeding. I mean, they already clinched the division. I'm a little confused about the whole thing. Like, I really wanted to, like, since I'm down by so much, I really wanted to play Colston Loveland. And I'm like, I don't know. So, I mean, in this specific question, I think Drake London probably has to be played. And then it's just a matter of, do you trust Wilson to get volume, or do you think Burden could have a ceiling game against the Niners? And I guess that's ultimately up to what this person's situation is.
Yeah, Bears fans in the chat, let us know. Do the Bears have anything to play for tonight? Now, there's always
it's a good test. It's a good test. If nothing else, if they want to get their guys out there, it's a good test.
Yeah, I agree. And I do also like the 49ers offense should be able to put up points at how well they've been playing, even without Kittle. 2 for 2 in the championships. Let's go, man. Shuck or Caleb Williams? Yeah, I mean, I think it's Caleb Samps. I have a tough time benching Caleb. I definitely think Caleb's there too. Would you consider Shuck here? I get that, like, he's been okay. At least 17 and 4 straight. It's just not this comparable ceilings here. We haven't really seen a ceiling for Shuck.
Shuck is certainly safer than Caleb Williams, I think, because Caleb Williams is much more volatile. He ranks well as a quarterback, but he's been a roller coaster. Like, most of his points have come from like a few games. A few
drives even. I mean, like last week, I benched Caleb Williams. I remember we were sweating my QB start state on the live last week. I ended up going Bryce Young over Kirk Cousins, ended up being fine. They ended up finishing really close, but Caleb Williams had like 3 points, like deep into the fourth quarter last week, and those 2 touchdowns, 2 insane drives in the last drive, and then OT with an onside kick in between, ends up with 21 points. But this is the best matchup he's had in over a month. Like, he's had some pretty tough matchups. Plus Burden is back too. Yeah. So yeah, I lean Caleb, but I'm fine agreeing with Sam's that Shuck's maybe a little safer with his floor. Starting Olave too.
There's another thing is if Shuck wins, sorry not to cut you off, if Shuck wins this game, he could easily become the rookie of the year favorite. I think if he wins this game, wins is competitive next week, like, he's rookie of the year, like, no doubt about it.
Ted is in the lead right now, I think.
It's Ted, I think, right now.
Henderson's
in there if he has a good game today. Shuck, he's I think 6-3 since becoming, like, that's really good. Yeah. So I think he's got a lot to play for. Going against another rookie who's taken ahead of him, that's sort of, bulletin board material. But yeah, I love Caleb Williams this week too. Like, let's not get that confused.
Tight end ranks. Yeah, let me pull up the tight end ranks here for people. I'll pull the wide receiver ranks up on YouTube. Other part of this question, Samps, is close. Yeah. Quorum is such a tough one for me. I know you were thinking about Quorum and that Josh Jacobs won. Like, Quorum, he projects worse than like everyone that is in these start-sits, but like, I really want to start him, man. I really think that he keeps it going versus the Falcons. I think the Rams offense cooks. If they really cook enough, we could see 15 Quorum carries easily in that game. And he scored in 4 straight games. I think he's got at least 40 rushing yards and a touchdown in like 4 straight games. Yeah, at least 48 rushing yards and a TD in 4 straight. And it's a good matchup here versus the Falcons on Monday Night Football. But the projection just isn't quite there because, I mean, a lot of this is going to Kyron. I think we got Kyron for like a 55-60% rush share in this one. I would play Burden over Tet, I think. Like, I'm kind of scared for the Bengals, honestly, in this one. I think the matchup there is going to be really tough for them. Quorum feels almost a little safer, though, than Burden. If this is a pick 2, though. So maybe it's just Quorum and Burden. You bench Tet here. Yeah,
so if this person is still listening, just know I started Josh Jacobs over Blake Corum, which means Blake Corum's going to go off. So you cannot recommend him enough right now. Also, I think if Seattle and the Niners both win, which feels very possible, the Rams would have no shot at the 1 seed. So I could definitely see them limiting some of their guys, which means Corum could see more of the work. And I should have gone with my gut. My gut was Corum, so I say you got to get Corum out of these 3.
I saw that narrative out there too this week. I think Corum's one of the guys that gets rested though, Sam's. If they actually rest guys, like Corum's been like a legit part. Like it's going to be Ronnie Rivers and Jarquez Hunter. If they were actually resting, like Corum is like a legit piece of the offense right now. I'm not sure he's the guy that like actually gets a lot of work if they actually do rest people. So wait, what's the scenario where they have nothing to play for?
I was just thinking if Seattle and the Niners both win, the Rams are just they already can't. I don't think they can win the division, right? I think they're already out of it. So I really don't know what they have to play for in general, to be honest, outside of seeding being the top wild card, which I guess is a good spot because you play the Bucs most likely, which is just easy money.
The home game matters in the playoffs too. I think teams for that for sure. Yeah, I still think I'm okay going Corum over Tet. But yeah, I think if they rest guys, like I actually think Corum might get rested too. Definitely interesting to watch that. I think Waddle over Wandale. Sams, what do you think about Wandale too? Last week, Sam's 46% target share, 6 targets. Man, I've never seen anything like that. Literally never seen anything like it. But the matchup's good for him against the Raiders. Just like, will they throw? Probably not a ton, like you said. But I don't know. On paper, he projects pretty well. I still think I lean Waddle, but it's close.
I'd go Wandale. I don't trust Quinn Ewers against Todd Bowles' defense at all. I feel like that's – and Todd Bowles, say what you want about him. He's a good defensive coach. He's going to absolutely destroy Quinn Ewers, I think, in a game. Like, if there was ever a week for Tampa Bay to get right, it's this week. The Dolphins have quit. The Bengals just annihilated them. That's why I love Mike Evans this week. I think Mike Evans is going to just dominate. So, at least I hope so. I'm maybe a little biased, really talking into existence. But, yeah, I think Wandale's got incentives too, yardage incentives. He wants to be a 1,000-yard receiver. Jackson's already talked about wanting him to be a 1,000-yard receiver. I'm sure Kafka's going to run the ball a lot, but he's definitely going to get one on the ball. So Theo Johnson's not playing either. So that's actually that's Dart's like favorite target. Theo Johnson's not playing.
It is pretty big.
So I go Wandale, just safer to me. I just don't know what Waddle's ceiling is with Quinn Ewers against the Bucs. I just really don't know.
Yeah, he had a 31% target share, I think, last week. Only 12 points. That was against the Bengals. Yeah, 31%, 9 targets. I mean, the Bucs have been kind of a pass funnel.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't really have faith in Ewers. I think you talked me into Wandale there as well. Need a floor. Jalen Hurts or Caleb Williams. This Eagles-Bills game, Sam, it's the only notable weather of the day. There's some games, there's going to be some like a little bit of rain, a tiny in some of these other games, but nothing that's anything concerning like at all, in my opinion. Nothing that's moved the over-unders at all. But this Bills-Eagles game, it's going to be downpouring rain, like downpouring, probably the entire game. There's wind like 30-mile-an-hour range already. I kind of expected this game to skew kind of run heavy. Two, the Bills' run defense has just been so atrocious. There's more injuries they're dealing with this week too than even like the past few weeks, specifically with their run defense. They're missing like one of their best run defenders, I believe, in this game. Then you got Caleb on Sunday night. We talked about him being like kind of volatile. Which way would you go here for the floor? I do think Jalen Hurts could run a decent bit in this game.
Yeah, I feel like at first thought, if you think floor, Jalen Hurts would probably be the answer. But now that Brock Purdy, he threw for 5 touchdowns last week against the Phillip Rivers. He almost threw for like 300 yards against the Niners last week. Sorry, excuse me. And that just feels like Caleb Williams can easily do that. Caleb Williams is going to run a little bit. I'm the rain. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's really close for me. Honestly, I think they have similar floors. I'd honestly pivot to like maybe who do you think has a higher ceiling if they both have similar floors? And I think that's probably Caleb Williams, right?
I lean Caleb. Just in a vacuum, I lean Caleb. I would argue Jalen Hurts does have the safer floor because I think he runs a decent bit in this game. Has a good chance at a tush push every given week. But
yeah,
I think it is close. I agree. I probably would just go with Caleb over Jalen Hurts. See if there's any more super chats here. Kyron Williams or DeAndre Swift? It's Kyron. You can't bench Kyron, right? I mean, I'm a little nervous with Chadwick. Maybe the Rams don't have much to play for here, but yeah, I think it's Kyron. Taysom or Loveland? Sam, we got to talk about Taysom Hill. Sam, so we got to talk about Taysom Hill. I've talked about him like a lot on this live already. So I'll let you give your take here in this start-sit comparison. Like, do you think how sticky do you think this usage from last week is gonna be for Taysom?
So earlier I mentioned wanting to play Loveland as a ceiling guy. I have Taysom Hill on my team. Um, I don't particularly think it's that sticky after thinking about it. They were saying on a Saints podcast they made it a point his last home game, get him involved. Like a lot of his points last week came from a 30-yard touchdown pass to a wide open Chris Olave.
Yeah.
The only thing that gets you excited is maybe if he is the lead running back. I'm not sure if that'll be the case. I think Colston Loveland is just as if not a higher ceiling than Taysom Hill. I mean, we saw what a ceiling game for Colston Loveland can look like, and now he's taking on the Niners, who are just awful defensively. I actually was curious I wanted to hear what your answer was because I have to make this choice myself. I mean, I have Brenton Strange also on that team, but I already have Myers and Lawrence. I don't want to triple down. It sounds like a bad idea. It just sounds like a bad thing to do.
I definitely would go Loveland here, unless you're really desperate for ceiling. I think like there's situations if you play Derrick Henry or you're just down by a lot, like Taysom is a ceiling play. Like he could score 2 rushing touchdowns. Like, I think Taysom has a multi-touchdown outcome that's more likely than Loveland. But Loveland is the better play. I think just like he's safer. It's not like he doesn't have a ceiling. I agree. It's so hard to parse. Was that just because it was his last home game? I think it was 17 or 19 opportunities. What was it? He had 12 carries and 6 targets plus a pass attempt. So he had 19 opportunities. It's an insane amount for a tight end. I mean, no tight end is going to come near that. Even McBride here versus the Bengals. I don't think we see him get another 19. Like I do think the home field probably played a factor, but it's so hard to know. Like it's basically impossible. It's like one of these true coin flip kind of scenarios because he's still 35. It's his last 2 games of his NFL career. Maybe they still want to get him some work here. Like why not? They have nothing to play for. He maybe is their best running back that they have. Like he maybe is their second or third best receiver that they have. Third best, fourth best after Juwan and Olave. It's like they got Mason Tipton running routes. He's one of the worst receivers in the NFL. Like, so yeah, I don't know. Like from that perspective too, I think he probably has a role. To me, Taysom's like a pretty good ceiling option for people down in their fantasy playoffs and their fantasy finals, but I wouldn't force him either.
If you were down, if you were projected to lose by 24, hypothetically asking for a friend, would you go Loveland or Taysom Hill?
And I think I would go Taysom. I actually think I would probably go Taysom in that scenario. Unless you have some other really high ceiling plays. There's not many tight ends that could get to 20 to 30 points. Like I think Taysom's the play if you're down by that much.
I also feel like he's more likely to get a 0. That's the hard thing. It's like he could easily get a 0, but you might be right. I mean, projected to lose by 24, I might need to let Taysom fly. Just like, I don't know. That's
the thing. You see this with NFL coaching all the time too. Like, do you want to just lose by little, or do you want to actually have a chance to win? Like you could by giving yourself a chance to win, you risk losing by a lot. It's the same thing in NHL. Like you got to pull your goalie way earlier than most people.
Yeah,
you got to go forward on fourth way more often when you're losing. But a lot of NFL coaches, they're playing to not get fired. Not to win. But yeah, I would go Taysom honestly. I think if you're down by.
And I mean, the projections are similar. Like if we think he can still get 9 without having a huge ceiling and the projection's that close, I don't see the reason not to do it. So
yeah,
exciting.
I would probably play Tet over Taysom though in this start sit. Unless again, if you really need a high ceiling, it's not like Tet doesn't have a high ceiling too. Carter or Stevenson, Waller, Goddard, or Johnson. So for the tight ends here, it's Johnson, then Waller, then Goddard is not startable in this game. Heavy downpouring rain. Bills are the number 1 defense versus tight ends. Goddard has scored a lot of touchdowns this season. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's probably going under 5 points today, Sam. So I do not want to start Goddard at all. And Juwan Johnson has a really good floor. He had 8 catches.
Yeah, he's an awesome play.
Last week. Michael Carter versus Ramondre is close. I'm glad you talked me off cliff a bit with Michael Carter last week. The role was okay. The outcome was not great. I think he had 7 points. He has 6.5 points, no catches, 65 rushing yards. He was actually kind of efficient, 5.9 yards per carry. Now he gets the Bengals, who are dead last for running backs this season. He's going to lead the team in carries. He's probably going to get another couple targets. He did have 2 targets last week. DeMarcado will play as well. But then you got Stevenson against the Jets. The Pats are 13.5 point favorites in this one. And Stevenson's been the preferred lead back over Henderson. He's not playing as well. He doesn't have as big of explosiveness. His snap percentage is a little misleading because Henderson got hurt, I think, in the third quarter of this game. But 65 to 70% of the snaps is what I'd expect from Ramondre today. really good chance at a touchdown. Man, this is a tough one, Sam. So how are you feeling about Michael Carter here versus the Bengals? Do you have a lean here?
I mean, it's the ideal matchup possible. The over-under, he catches passes. I do worry a little bit about DeMercado, even though Gannon hates him. It feels like I've heard some rumblings that he's going to see some work. Ramondre is much more likely to score a touchdown, I think, than Michael Carter is. Trayvon being back does hurt. I was excited to see he was playing when I saw Ramondre was on my opposing team.
Yeah.
But Ramondre looked great last week against the Ravens defense, who looked like a prison last night for Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson and those guys. So I think it depends what you need. If you need safer, more likely to score a touchdown, go Ramondre. If you want some passes caught, high over under, go with Michael Carter.
Yeah, this is a super tough one. The Cardinals are in a game with a 54-point total. The Pats, on the other hand, 42-point total, 12 points difference. But the Cardinals are 7-point underdogs. Pats are 13.5-point favorites. So the Pats implied team total I actually think is higher than the Cardinals this week. And I think that it matches what you're saying. I think Mondre has the better chance of the touchdown. I think Carter has the better chance for receiving work. Both these matchups are so good. Like, I don't think this is a matchup-driven thing. These are like two of the best possible matchups for running backs right now. I think the Jets matchup is like better than it looks on paper too. Achane did pretty well last week, 5.4 yards per carry. I mean, before that, the running backs didn't do crazy versus the Bengals, but this season, I think there's several 29, 30-point games in here. They're averaging over 30 points allowed per game. I think I've made Mondre here, Samps. I want to play these Pats running backs. At least one of these guys is going over 20 today for the Pats, and it probably is going to be Ramondre. Like, we got Henderson projected a little bit ahead of him, but Ramondre is going to play more. I actually think his floor is probably better. Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift, Taysom Loveland. We just talked through the Taysom Loveland thing at length. I think Taysom is the ceiling. If you really need ceiling, you're down by 20 plus, but projection-wise, then I'm okay going Taysom. Otherwise, I think it's Loveland. And it's Kyron, I think, over Swift.
If I'm not mistaken, we did already answer this person, I believe. Look, I think I recognize that username.
Yeah, definitely starting Taysom, non-PPR since lost Kittle and Mahomes. Sam's in non-PPR, Taysom is our tight end 2 in the ranks. And like, it kind of makes sense when you look at how close he is in the PPR ranks. Because he's ranking here not because he catches passes. Like, he could run for 50 yards and a touchdown in this game. And if he does that, he's going to be a top 3 tight end in non-PPR. That's just like how the scoring works. He's like not that far behind McBride in non-PPR. He's just like, he's literally a cheat code in non-PPR leagues if he's going to get anywhere near 10 carries. Do I start Shuck or Kirk Cousins for the chip? I also have Olave. It's Shuck over Kirk.
That's easy.
I do have Kirk as my sleeper quarterback of the week. I agree with where I am ranked. He's QB 12 of the QBs left. But yeah, I'm playing Shuck over him, Mayfield over him, Caleb, Jalen Hurts, Purdy, Stafford, May, Brissett, Allen, Burrow, and Lawrence, all over him, like, pretty confidently. But I do think Kirk over Darnold and Dart and Bryce Young and Geno and those types makes some sense because the Falcons are going to be trailing big in that game. But I don't think I've seen any starts yet where anyone actually needs to start Kirk Cousins. Sam, another finals appearance. Thanks to Walter Wisdom. Appreciate you. Appreciate you as well, Brett. Congrats on making the finals. Job not finished, though. Job's not finished. Brissett or Jalen Hurts. Oh, man.
Oof.
I told you when you hopped on, Sam, I started Malik Willis over Brissett against our projections, against all wisdom. Ended up paying off. It was a risk. I knew it was a risk. I'm just scared with the offensive line for Jacoby Brissett. Like, he's coming off his worst game of the season. He only had 11 points last week. Obviously, a way easier matchup here versus the Bengals. They're third worst versus quarterbacks this season. I do feel like this Cardinals offense has some, like, kind of bottoming out potential here, though, with both their left guard and left tackle out. Sam's on top of that, this Cardinals defense is missing 5 starters today, and almost all of them are in the secondary. Like, we got a practice squad secondary here against Burrow and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, I don't know how you play a defense lineup without him today. Like, he could really go for 40. But yeah, the matchup's good. The game environment's obviously good. Like, I kind of agree with our projection. I probably would go Brissett over Hurts, even despite my concerns. Like, he's still a pretty good start. I
agree. And the counterpoint to the O-line issues is, like, look at the D-line they're going against. It's not exactly exactly the steel curtain or anything like that. So I think Brissett's a confident play.
And then the
other one's interesting too. The other question.
Yeah, like, for these, unless you have Bannon, Juwan, obviously Pitts and McBride, Strange, Loveland. Unless you have one of those guys, like I think you really got to consider Taysom. And like every other start sit with these tight ends, like if he could get 10 carries, I mean, I don't know, like Hunter Henry's interesting versus the Jets. I'm definitely a little nervous about the pass volume for the Pats. Kincaid is like just not startable. Tyler Warren, I get it. He did have 9 targets last week, and the matchup's pretty good for him. Michael Mayer and Parkinson and Waller and Tonjes and Barner and Goddard, these are the other guys people are starting, and all of these guys have really low floors. Like if you're going to already play a low floor guy, you might as well play Taysom. You know, that's kind of my thinking with it. I would go Taysom here, and maybe I'm underrating Tonjes a little bit with Kittle out, but because we did see him have some good games in here with Kittle out earlier this season, 15 points, 17 points, 12 points. He was a top 12 tight end all these weeks. So we're maybe projecting him near his floor. Man, I don't love him.
I think he's definitely interesting. I think, he almost scored a touchdown last week. I think he did score a touchdown last week, actually. In all those games he did well was with Mac Jones, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's a quality tight end, and it's an important game for them. It's some of those where maybe additional context would be helpful, just kind of like what you need, because these guys are 2 very different plays. Tonga is safe. Hill is not. It's,
Yeah, it's like if the base projection is better for Taysom and he's got the higher ceiling, like I think it's Taysom, man. Burrow or Brissett. Yeah, so the 2 QBs that you just absolutely cannot bench, and you can't even like overthink these. It's Lawrence and Burrow today. Like I'm starting them over Allen like pretty easily. We actually have them projected really close. It's never easy to bench Josh Allen, but if any week was like Lawrence, he's been the QB1 in back-to-back weeks, and now he gets the Colts, who just
didn't force a single punt. Did not. I mean, Sauce Gardner's back, but like he wasn't playing particularly well for them when he was playing. At least not in my opinion.
Just in general,
yeah.
Like I think he's good. He's shown he's talented in the past, but he's not had a good season. Like I don't think he changed the dynamic of this defense. Like probably better than what they had, but yeah, Trevor Lawrence and then Burrow. Like you can't bench him against this practice squad secondary. They have the highest implied team total of the whole slate today. Stamps, listen to these injuries. Let me just read the injuries here. If I can find them quick. Yeah, here it is. All right, so injured for the Arizona Cardinals. Josh Sweat, he's out. He's their starting linebacker. Buda Baker and Jalen Thompson, their 2 starting safeties, both out. That's their strong safety and free safety, both out.
Yep.
You have Max Melton, who I believe is their best corner. He's out. Darren Hall is also out. So they're down to their 3rd string safety, 2 3rd string safeties and a 3rd string corner, and they're missing a linebacker. And they already weren't good. Like this was already not a great defense for the Cardinals. Burrow is not benchable unless you have.
It kind of makes me like the offensive players for the Cardinals, particularly the pass catchers. The more we've talked this through, is like there's no way they're not down. Right? Like there's no way they're not having to throw the whole game. It kind of makes me even more scared for McBride, but it makes me more confident in the Marv and Wilson's. Like they're gonna have to throw. Like there's no world.
That's why that ranks where he does. I mean, the pass volume is just so locked in this game because the defense
is definitely Burrow over Brissett.
Yeah, and this guy's saying, would he start Lawrence over Burrow? I mean, it's close. Honestly, like with everything we just talked through, I might go Burrow over Lawrence. Like I think there's a better chance that the Jags go run heavy than the Bengals do.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the Jaguars kind of want to just like establish like, hey, we're for real. I'm thinking they're gonna have an offensive showing today. We'll see. It's very exciting. There's there's not a lot of games of consequence, but there's some things that are exciting that like our team's really gonna lock in. Like, okay, like are the Jaguars a threat? I think they are right now, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this is always a super critical part of the season where you see the teams that are getting hot or not. Ahead of these are huge weeks ahead of the NFL playoffs. Start 1, Kyron, Tracy, or Henderson. It's Kyron. It's Kyron Williams. Henderson has the highest ceiling of the group, but it's Kyron. I don't think you can possibly bench Kyron in this spot. And I don't think you can consider Tracy. I just like if you have an option like this, like I don't want to risk it with Tracy. I feel very squeamish. Squirmish.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I think that
you're right. Squeamish. Squeamish was right. I'm pretty sure. I think that's right.
And then Hill.
Kyron's a lock to score a touchdown, I think.
Yeah. Hill versus Henry's close. I think it's a similar floor ceiling decision that we've discussed.
I like Hunter Henry a lot, to be honest. I was hoping he'd be on the waivers. I feel like when they've been down guys, the targets become super consolidated in New England. I think we see a lot. If they do pass them, they might only throw like 15 times because that's all they'll have to do. But I think Diggs, Williams, and Henry are going to be like the only people catching passes. And I mean, you're the Patriots fan. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's probably what we see.
Some official injury news, Samps. We got Tedero McMillan is in, Harold Fannin is in, Chris Olave is in, Demario Douglas is in, Sauce Gardner, Marvin Harrison Jr. is in. All that was expected. Tua's inactive. Sterling Shepard is
inactive. He's inactive. He's not even backing up. That's crazy.
He's inactive. Yep. Dylan Sampson.
Wow.
Dylan Sampson is active officially as well. I think I mentioned Harold Fannin. He's active too. Let's see, Sam's. I don't think you've been on since I showed the free player props. We're going to get to this.
Okay.
Start sit. I have Kyle Williams as one of the free player props, but I just put a blank because they didn't post the receiving yards line. At least maybe they did now that like I just a blank check with Kyle Williams. Let's take a look. I can search here quick too.
Yeah.
If there's finally a Kyle Williams line out that they're so scared, Sam's. Like just cowardly stuff. Wow. No Kyle Williams line that I'm seeing. I think if they posted it, it'd probably be in the low 30s, would be my guess.
Kyle Williams on Prize Picks, 26.5 receiving yards. Yeah, and then 20.5 longest reception. That's kind of funny. Yeah. Like, it's kind of like the same thing, basically.
Receiving yard one is a great. He could easily get 5, 6, 7 targets today. He's going to play almost every snap. Yeah. Almost every snap, I think. Didn't bench Chris Rodriguez and ship on the line. That's rough, man. Wide receiver, 1 running back. Wilson, McMillan. I actually did toss in a Bill in one of my finals matchups, like last second.
Nice. I wanted to.
He's huge. Wilson, McMillan, Kyle Williams, or Luther Burden / Carter or Tracy. 1 receiver, 1 running back. Here, is that Kyle Williams or Kyron Williams? I've been struggling with that one all day. It's probably.
I think considering who's around him, I'm thinking Kyron. I was thinking Kyron because McMillan's next to him.
Yeah, if it's Kyron, then you're starting Kyron. Kyle Williams.
There's a bunch of receivers, so maybe it is.
Kyle Williams would not be in play here, but Kyron Williams would be like definite start. Burden versus Carter versus Michael Wilson. This is close, Samps. What receiver would you start? If this is Kyle Williams, then it's definitely Carter. I think over Tracy. I think we have Tracy projected ahead, Samps.
Yeah,
I feel better about Carter than Tracy.
I think with the receivers here. I mean, just based on everything we've talked through and what we've seen, like I find it at this point. I mean, I know we only had 3 targets last week, but like Michael Wilson still had a good game. Yeah. You know, they're going to be down the whole game. Marv's going to have limited snaps. Like the logic says, like Michael Wilson makes sense. The matchup is tough, but it's not because the Bengals are good. It's because they're so bad against other positions. Right. So I don't know. I mean. And Tet's in the most important game. I get. Well, not even then. The Panthers, even if they win and the Bucs win, doesn't matter. So like, it's not that important of a game. This is a tough one. And the info of Rodriguez being in his lineup, you need a big play. No one on that list has had bigger games than Michael Wilson. You know, the over/under is 53.5.
Yeah, I lean Luther Burden over Michael Wilson still. I definitely, if this is Kyle Williams, would play both them over Kyle Williams. I think it's Kyron, honestly, though, looking at this more.
Yeah.
I kind of like Luther Burden more than Tet McMillan also. I think I would probably go Burden, Wilson, then McMillan. We have it Wilson, then Burden, then McMillan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's cool. I mean, these guys are so close. Man, so close. The pass volume is just definitely going to be there for the Cardinals. You're definitely right. Like
his boom probability is 12%, which is insane.
Absolutely crazy. We got Shay here in the chat.
Let's go.
I think it's got to be Tet over Downs.
Yeah, short yardage. Downs has been a consistently reliable target for Rivers. I don't hate it if you need some locked in volume. If you're worried about the matchup, I mean, I can kind of. I think Panthers Seahawks is going to be kind of low scoring and close. In Carolina, I think the crowd's going to be a heavy involvement there.
It's just not a real ceiling here for Downs. Yeah. Downs was balling last week. I mean, he had some insane routes.
Yes.
Like he's really one of the better route runners in the league. But yeah, the ceiling for Tet is way, way higher here. Shay, I think one of these guys has a 30-point game and the others does not have a 20-point game all season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most underrated receiver room in the NFL, Indianapolis. Alec Pierce showed last week that he's just baller, a beast.
It's got to be Strange over Tonjes for sure. Strange over Tonjes. Appreciate all the advice through the year. Need one more. We got you. Stafford or Burrow? It's Burrow, man. It's got to be Burrow.
Yep.
It's the Cardinals. He is so set up for success today against an injured Cardinals defense. Start Kittle or not risk it and start Barner. Kittle's not playing. We got to make start sits as though Kittle's not playing. It's not officially out. The report was he's unlikely to play. And Kittle, is of all guys, he could play through this type of injury. He's going to test it out pregame, it sounded like. But I think for start sits, we just have to assume he's not playing because a report that you're unlikely to play is almost always not playing. This Barner one, though, would you start Barner or would you start someone like Elijah Higgins?
I was going to suggest to this person to see if Tonjes is available and just keep Tonjes because I like Tonjes better than Barner, assuming Kittle's out, personally. But there's definitely other guys I'd start over Barner. Barner just feels a little volatile to me.
Yeah, we have Kittle projected out in the app now, and Tonjes projects better than Barner, so I agree with that.
I like Elijah Higgins.
Yeah. I really do. I mean, I wrote up both his props in the app this morning, looking at our projections versus the prop lines. I mean, he was a receiver in college, Samps. He's their fourth best receiver on the team after Marv and Michael Wilson and McBride. It's pretty easily him. Same
amount of targets. Same targets as Trey McBride last week as well.
Yeah, and you got to think, as bad as the Bengals have been against tight ends, the only player they're really focused on heading into this game is Trey McBride. It really could.
You would think.
You would think. It could definitely be a sneaky, Elijah Higgins ceiling outcome here versus the Bengals. The pass volume obviously will be there for him too. He's been playing over 60% of snaps in 4 straight games. The playing time is pretty locked in, it feels like, for him as well. But yeah, I don't hate just adding Tonjes. If you have any hope for Kittle, then Tonjes is a good add. Safety net. Sam's, any other takes you have for the week that you haven't gotten in yet? We'll keep going through these start sits.
I was going to say a second ago, I don't know how Elijah Higgins isn't in a lot of DFS lineups. He's in mine. I wrote him up in the WalterPicks app and the favorites this week. If anyone wants to check those out before the game start,
he's probably
on the Discord as well.
Price. Is he cheaper than Taysom?
Oh yeah, Taysom. I actually looking at that just now. I was making sure my lineup was set. Taysom's the third most expensive tight end. Just because of FanDuel.
On DraftKings, he is not. On DraftKings, he's around 3,000. I think.
FanDuel pricing is so bad. but Elijah Higgins is 4,800, which is minimum. Near minimum you're getting on FanDuel for any relevant tight end. And I like stacking in with some Bengals. I think I love Chase Brown this week. Not exactly a hot take after last week. The funny thing about last week, Chase Brown got vultured before the 3 touchdowns. He could have had 4, but they decided to give him to Samaje Perine, which would have been even crazier. But I like the Titans backfield this week. I like Pollard and Spears. I should have played Pollard over Jacobs. That's who I had, but I was just if Jacobs, he could easily score, but it wasn't the right call in hindsight. Pollard's on over 100 yards 3 straight games, and the Saints are allowing over 100 rushing yards game. If Pollard scores a touchdown, absolutely awesome start. And I already mentioned Mike Evans. But yeah, really the big ones for me are Shuck, the Titans backfield, the Saints tight ends. And I like Jacoby Myers this week, finally, to actually maybe get one of those 20-point games, 6 for 90 and a touchdown, something like that. He's had that recently. So those are my takes really in terms of just guys I really like.
Like it. Yeah, I like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot this week too. I feel like he could
DFS for sure.
His first real ceiling game of the season. The interesting one here, Drake May versus Caleb Williams. I have some concerns over the pass volume for May. He is still in the hunt, technically, for MVP. I kind of think Stafford's all but locked it up, but in theory, there might be some motivation there. The Pats are still in the hunt also for the 1 seed. They still could get the 1 seed if the Broncos lose. I think the Broncos lose out, right? Or maybe the Broncos have solidified it now.
They clinched the division, but they did not clinch the 1 seed. I think if they lose, and I think there's other things, I think the Jaguars or maybe the Patriots, one of those 2 teams could get it from them.
Long way saying, I think you do play May here. And then Burden or Pearsall, I think I lean Burden over Pearsall.
Yeah, for sure. I would say for sure on that.
Pearsall
Pearsall did look good before he got hurt.
Pearsall. Would you play Pearsall over Kyle Williams, Sams?
Man, the reason I say I would play Pearsall mainly because I have such a fear that the Patriots just dominate, and Kyle Williams wasn't involved in that domination.
Yeah. All week,
like I said, Pearsall looked great. He looked so good before he got hurt. He's been so annoying all year because I had him on my team. He was someone we all really liked in the projections, and we liked him a lot.
In his last game too, he played through an injury that whole game and still balled. Like even at not 100%, I think he could ball in this game, especially without Kittle. Like Kittle being out, I feel like is so big for these receivers.
Yes,
both Williams and Pearsall. Start Kittle or play. We already talked about this one. Happy holiday to you. As well, Brees, Sharp, Monungai, or P. Ryan. Oh, man.
Cannot be Brees no matter what. Sorry, not to cut you off. Just had to get that out of the way from the jump. Cannot be Brees no matter what. He is in a contract year. You think he wants to go out there and do anything to jeopardize a contract? Absolutely not. I've seen other people talk about that too, so I'm not going to take credit for that thought, but it's something I wanted to share. Like, he's not going to go out there and try to hurt himself. No way.
It's so rough every week with Brees. I still think the talent is absolutely there. I was saying it earlier in the live. He's one of these players I'm rooting against so that people have a sour taste at the end of the season for next fantasy season. I can just hammer Brees Hall next season. Hopefully he lands in a good running back spot. Arizona Cardinals, maybe. I could see
Chiefs.
Chiefs. Yeah, there's a lot of
Chiefs were trying to trade for him, and the Jets said no.
Yeah, which was really dumb for both teams.
It was dumb.
Gosh, it's Sharp. I think it's Sharp here. Sharp versus Monungai. I agree that I would not start Brees like in any situation really this week. I have him in the must bench category as well. Sharp, I think, is the best touchdown potential. Monungai's been good, Samps.
100%. 100%.
I think
Charbonnet, he just steals everything from Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker will get you 80 of the yards on a drive that started at the 10-yard line, and then Charbonnet will get the touchdown. It's just like, all right, that's what we're doing.
I agree the ceiling floor here, too, with these two guys. I think Monungai does have a higher ceiling. I probably would go Sharp there, though. Let's jump to this one. Please come up clutch for my championship without Kittle. Wide receiver, tight end, and flex. Yeah, so I would go Taysom at tight end in this one. Parker Washington versus Egbuka at receiver, Sam's. It's Parker Washington, I think. I don't think you can start Egbuka right now with Jalen McMillan back. Like, Egbuka had his lowest snap percentage in a while last week. I think he had one catch last week. It was, I think, a big catch, like a 40-yard catch or something, but one catch, like he easily could have finished with 0 points. Parker Washington, on the other hand, he's coming off an exact opposite game, 26 points for him last week. Parker Washington didn't play in the last matchup versus the Colts. Man, you can't start Egbuka right now. I think it is Parker Washington. Yeah, you had one catch for 40 yards, only 56% of snaps, 2 targets, snaps, 8% target share for Egbuka. I mean, he's like fifth in the pecking order now. You can't count the running backs, and then Godwin, Evans as well.
Even Sean Tucker on the goal line and taking that stuff away too.
Yeah, there's just like such a low floor for him. I still think there's a ceiling, but and then
I think
flex.
Like
I go Corum. I go Park Washington, Corum, and Taysom. I think here.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then Hurts or Caleb, we already talked about that one a little bit. So we both kind of agreed. Caleb, right?
I agree with Caleb. Can't believe I benched Watson for Flowers last night. You're not alone, man. You're definitely not alone. Lamb's performance hurt. Need a big game from JT, Bijan, Mike Evans fan, and Caleb and Burton. Appreciate the super chat, man. Yeah, definitely some high season. You got JT and Bijan too. I like the Caleb Burton stack too if you're down by a lot. And yeah, you couldn't have started Christian Watson last night. He was questionable going into the game too. Should I start Kyle Williams or Burton? It's Burton. It's definitely Burton.
Even if he has May.
Yeah. If you have May and you I still think it's Burton.
Yeah.
Weatherman Sam, how much is it raining in the Bills-Eagles game? I have Allen in, but need big game. Worried the Bills just going to run the ball like last week. Burrow, better choice for the boom play. Burrow's absolutely the better choice. Just period. For boom play and floor. But I think, Sam's, in the fantasy football semifinals, Josh Allen goes out there and has his worst fantasy game of his entire career. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, it is brutal out there for the Josh Allen teams. You spent the earliest pick probably in your whole draft, or you traded a bunch of capital to get Josh Allen, goes out there and scores under 7 points in a game where he only attempts 19 passes. I mean, it's like Jackson Dart type game from Josh Allen. last week. And they didn't need to throw. I mean, they were running so successfully against the Browns. I think it could be similar too. And it is raining a lot. It's going to rain a lot in this game. A couple inches, 2 to 3 inches of rain expected. That's a lot of rain for the weather bros out there. It's going to be downpouring rain probably the whole game. That's only more likely that it skews run heavy. And the other thing with Josh Allen, like they just don't have receivers. Like how is this the receivers you've surrounded Josh Allen with? Josh Palmer, Gabe Davis, Keon Coleman, who's a healthy scratch every week over Tyrell Shavers and Brandon Cooks. I mean, Shakir is okay at what he does, but he's not like a number one receiver. It's like they have Shakir.
And they scratched Gabe Davis last week too. They didn't even play last week.
Both tight ends questionable here too. I think they both are going to play, but God.
I do want to say if there was ever a quarterback that is not impacted by the rain, it's Josh Allen. I'll just put that out there, in my opinion, just given his skill set, the way he runs the ball. But yeah, Burrow's the better play. I would agree.
Why are we benching Samson? Let me find this comment here from Jack Hill if I can find it. Jack, send the comment in the chat again. I'll pull it up. I have Dylan Sampson as a bench in the TikTok live. Samps, I think there's definitely receiving upside here. This whole game I think is going to be pretty gross. I think all three running backs are still going to play for the Browns. Trevion Williams, Raheem Sanders, the other two running backs here. The Steelers did allow, I think, a lot of catching last week. Let me go back to this. Yeah, Gibbs was the running back 10. But the reason I had Sampson as a bench, look at the rushing yards here for the Lions. Last week versus the Steelers, 16 rushing yards for the Lions. Achane only had 60 rushing yards the week before that. Achane did have 6 catches. Gibbs had 10. So like there could be a decent amount of receiving work for Sampson. That's definitely what you're hoping for. But yeah, the rushing environment here is like really sketchy for Sampson. That's why I put him as a bench. Like I prefer basically everyone we have projected over him. I think that makes him a bench. He's running back 27 left on the week. So yeah, that's why I'm benching Sampson. Are you with me, Samps, or do you think the receiving role could maybe come to fruition here?
The over/under is so low. Like that firstly is just like you don't want players in that setting unless it's one of the locked-in guys. Sampson, if you're in PPR, I can see it because that's the only route I think to his major success. But the Steelers know if they win this game, they're in the playoffs and everyone can rest next week. So I think the Steelers are going to come out here with tons of energy, tons of, it's at home. Or no, are they on the road? No, they're versus Pitt. That means that the Steelers are on the road, right? I'm sorry.
Steelers are at home. Steelers are at home.
Oh, they're at home?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, no. You're right. Steelers on the road. Browns.
Momentary brain fart. But I don't know. Yeah, I think the only thing the Browns have going for them today is that Myles Garrett can break the record for sacks, but that's about it. I'm not super into Dylan Sampson, but like if you need 10, the catches can get him there.
May or Purdy? Brian Thomas Jr. definitely over 10. I think it flex. I feel like really excited, honestly, about Brian Thomas Jr. today. I think that like Jacoby's the number one guy that's actually going to draw more attention than Brian Thomas Jr. I really think one of the two, Myers or Brian Thomas Jr. is going to absolutely smash today. May or Purdy? It's close. Oh, God, it's really, really close.
I think I go Purdy in a competitive game. I think I'd go with Purdy, but Drake May can get you 15 points in 2.5 quarters. But I think I'd go with Purdy. Purdy is playing. I was actually going to say that a few minutes ago. He is playing lights out. He's playing so good. Since that one game he had that was not good, he's been fantastic. So that's what I think.
I'm okay going Purdy there. I think it's a win-win situation. I think Purdy's more likely to not get game scripted out of the game, though. Like it's possible, like we see a Josh Allen or Jackson Dart type stat line for May this week where he just doesn't actually need to throw much. And I do think the Pats will be fine with that. If that's how he's out, which is a good segue into Henderson versus Stevenson. I think I'd play all three of these running backs over Tedero McMillan. Michael Carter projects the best here. Samps, I mean, it's such a muddy thing with these two Pats running backs. I think I said earlier, I'd actually prefer Stevenson over Henderson. I do think Henderson does have the higher ceiling. I definitely agree with that. He's got way better ability to rip off some big plays, but Ramondre is going to play more. I think Ramondre gets the ball more today, and I think Ramondre is a little bit more likely to score around the goal line So I lean Ramondre here personally, then Henderson, then Carter. I do want to play these Pats running back, Samps.
Yeah, it's one of those, another one where it kind of depends what you need. Obviously, if you need a ceiling, Henderson, even Carter has, like, I feel a ceiling too, just given the playing behind, maybe a lot of check downs sort of thing for in PPR. But in a vacuum, Ramondre probably is the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I lean Mondre, especially if you're playing it safe. If you do need the ceiling, I'm okay going Henderson as well. And I don't hate just trying to get them both in your lineup if it's at all possible. They're going to combine for 30. I think like combined should be really, really strong today. Wandale or Michael Wilson playing for the chip. Also have Warren at tight end, but Hill, Barner, Waller, and Mayer on waivers. I'm okay going Warren.
I agree. I go Warren over those guys. If you didn't need the ceiling, I could play Warren over Hill in my matchup, but I don't think Warren has a ceiling whatsoever.
Yeah. If you go Hill, if you're down by a lot, I'm okay going Hill. I think Warren is in a good spot. He did have 9 targets last week as well. He was like blocking a lot less than the previous week. Rivers was just like more of a real quarterback last week, a little bit more comfortable in the offense. It was pretty cool to see. Wandale versus Michael Wilson, Samps. You've been kind of in on both these guys. This is a tough one. Gosh, I'm more confident in Michael Wilson's game environment than I am Wandale's. Like the 46% target share for 6 targets is just like so tough for me. Like a 10% target share for Michael Wilson today might be more than a 40% target share for Wandale.
Yeah, I mean, Wilson's playing pretty much every snap. The over-under is like 53.5, if I'm not mistaken. Are we playing from behind? I think Wandale probably has a better chance of like breaking off a big play against the Raiders, but I think the volume, like you said, it's probably more likely to go to Wilson. Hopefully the 3 targets last week was not sticky for him. I don't know. I mean, like they don't have incentive to play Marv. And I was actually thinking about that in the Colts game. What is the Colts incentive to have Sauce Gardner play a ton? They're already eliminated. He's coming back from the concussion. I don't think they have a lot of incentive to play him, maybe just to beat their divisional foe, I suppose. But I don't know. I feel like with a concussion, you don't want to be like stupid. So there's a lot. Question marks are tough, really tough.
I personally think I'd lean Michael Wilson over Wandale in this one. Gabe, send over the send your question again if we missed the super chat. Pittman, Adonai Mitchell, or Rashid Shaheed.
Wow.
I think multiple of these guys as must benches here. I actually think it's Mitchell. He's like he's an actual wide receiver 1. His target share is very consistent. I don't feel good about Pittman like at all, but I get considering him. I don't think Rashid Shaheed is like really in play. Wow, Shaheed projects the best of these 3. It's honestly pretty surprising to me. To me, he's like the worst of the 3. I guess there's a ceiling here for him. I mean, the floor is so low. For Shaheed, he had 1 target last week. AD Mitchell is seeing a 20% target share every week. Like he's going to hit a 20% target share in this game. 17% last week, actually. He's been at least 17% in 6 straight. It's not a good matchup, obviously, versus the Pats.
I was going to say, do you think Gonzalez is on him?
I probably. Gonzalez doesn't really – he's not like a true shadow corner. Yeah. But I do think he probably matches up against Gonzalez most of the game, would be my guess.
I think I would go with Pittman just because he's the best player. And Rivers, he threw for 270 yards last week. He's not like complete toast. I saw something saying if he throws for 251 more yards, he passes Big Ben in the all-time passing yards. So I kind of think Rivers is going to want to do that. He's probably going to ask if he can play next week too. Like I think he's going to want to try to do that. That'd be kind of fun. I'd go Pittman, although I will say Rashid Shaheed has been historically the Panthers fans hate Rashid Shaheed. I'll just say that, like from the Saints days. Let's just, he's a menace.
I think it's Pittman. I think you talked me into it. I think all of them have a really low floor. It's Trevor Lawrence
for sure.
Trevor Lawrence over everyone today. The only QB that I think you could really start over Lawrence is Burrow. Otherwise, it's Lawrence. So yeah, I'm starting Lawrence over May.
Everyone finally getting the confidence in Trevor Lawrence. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? Now, I think it's interesting if somehow Drake May and Matt Stafford both have a down week and Trevor Lawrence has another massive game. It becomes really interesting.
He is a dark horse, definitely in MVP if he finishes strong every year too. They put so much more stock in these last games.
Yep.
And it's like really annoying, but it is true. It's just how the voters work.
100%.
100% how it goes. Let me pull this one back up here. AJ Brown, Diggs, Waddle, Gainwell, or Jalen Warren. AJ Brown's tough, Samps. I don't think you can really bench him in a spot.
We're not worried about the wisdom teeth.
Wisdom teeth. I don't think you can be worried about that. It's kind of crazy.
I was sourcing a lot of people I've known who had their wisdom teeth out, and I was saying, how long did it take for you to get back up? And they said, well, like 3 days, but I'm not a super athlete. So
I did get my wisdom teeth out a while back too. I honestly don't even remember how long I was there. I probably milked it longer than I did to back in my college days. But yeah, Diggs is a really good start, I think, versus the Jets too. You kind of talked me a little bit out of Waddle. I think it's probably Gainwell.
I have no idea what the justification would be to bench Gainwell. I have no clue. Like, how do you bench Gainwell? You can't. Rodgers loves that man with all his heart.
And there's also no Metcalf or Calvin Austin. Like the targets have to go somewhere. Yeah, Gainwell is the best of all of these guys, which is crazy. And it's like all the receivers. He has 15 catches.
Completely forgot about Metcalf being out for that weird situation.
He's eight catches in his last 3 games.
If the Steelers better win today, because then next week they'll have to play the Ravens with no Metcalf, and then it becomes real interesting.
Favorite bet of the week, prop, anytime TD spreads, etc. Yeah, let me talk through some of my favorite plays of the day. So 3 free player props today. I'll actually pull my favorite touchdowns at the bottom here, which I got ready for us before the live. My 3 free player props: Elijah Higgins over 20.5 receiving yards. I like this one a lot. I think you could beat this in a single play. And it 100%. Should be live the whole game. The Bengals offense is going to put up points. I put a blank here for Kyle Williams because the books were really scared to give us a Kyle Williams line earlier today. Sam said PrizePicks had it around 23.5 in that range. If this is in the 20s, man, this is a fantastic line. Also capable of beating us in a single play. I think he sees a career high snap percentage and a career high target share today against a horrible Jets defense. I mean, legit ceiling, I think, for Kyle Williams. I thought he was a good sleeper for fantasy as well. I'll probably end up starting Pearsall over him in the league where I was considering him, now that Pearsall is more likely to play. And then Brian Thomas Jr., his line's not even in the 50s against the Colts. Also, like, very capable of beating this in just a couple of plays. I like all 3 of these receiving yards plays a lot. These are my 3 favorite plays of the day. I have some of my favorite touchdown ones going at the bottom. I do really like the Jaguars at minus 250 to beat the Colts. This feels really similar to the 49ers situation last week. The 49ers were only 5.5 point favorites. Like, there's just no real world where the Jags offense gets stopped.
Yeah.
This game, there's no.
They lost Buckner. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's huge. Like, the defense got worse with Sauce Gardner returning and Buckner leaving. Like,
100%.
So yeah, I don't see a world where even if Rivers plays like he did last week, which will be more tough to do against the Jaguars defense than the 49ers defense. Like, I just don't think the Colts defense can hold up here against the Jags. So yeah, I'd like them to win as well. Those are probably my favorite plays of the day, Sam. Anything that you like?
Yeah, they're not really player oriented, but I was talking to Trevor about it. I even convinced Trevor's on the production team. For anyone who doesn't know, I got him to take it. I like the over 39.5 and Saints Titans. I don't really get that line at all. Cam Ward's playing great. Tyler Shuck's playing great. I think that game goes over. And I also, where is it? I do like, I know this might be risky. They've been playing so bad, but I like the Bucs to cover 5.5 against the Dolphins. The Dolphins are just a skeleton. They are awful. They are so bad. And I think if there's ever a game to get right, it's this one. I said it earlier, but those are the 2 game ones I like. If you are in the WalterPicks newsletter for emails, I wrote that I like the Titans to upset the Saints, even though they're at home. They're still projected to lose. Cam Ward's has been playing so good, I think, and this is a good test for him. I think the Titans can win. So that's another one for you.
Yeah, pretty funny to see at home here in a meaningless game. We got the first overall pick projected to lose to Tyler Shuck. Yeah. A lot of
Rookie of the year candidate.
Before the season situations here in week 17. I like the Bucs to win a lot too. I always stay away from spreads personally because I hate my incentives not being aligned with the team's incentives. Right, when the Bucs are up by 2 points and they just start kneeling the ball, it makes sense, but it's not aligned with my incentives. That's why I like the money line more than the spread, just in general. But yeah, I like the Bucs and the Jags to win as well. Both of those, I think, are 5.5 point favorites. Do you trust Dart this week or go Geno. I mean, just rough all around here. If this is the spot you're in, I don't trust Dart this week. Look at all. I didn't trust Dart last week as well. Thank God I was on that last week.
Yeah, I didn't either.
He had 40 total yards last week, Samps, rushing and passing. 33 passing yards, 7 completions. Didn't have a pass attempt in the first quarter. Like, I think it is Geno. Probably over.
Decimated for the Giants.
Oh man,
I'm going to shamelessly plug here. Sorry, on the Falcons at WalterPicks TikTok account, I posted my quarterback video this week, and my sleeper at the very end, I snuck him in there at the end. Revenge game, Geno Smith against the Giants. He's not a guy who's going to want to lose because he's not going to be the quarterback next year. I tell you that right now, he's not going to be the quarterback next year. He has no reason to want to lose. So I actually don't hate Geno for looking at DFS. I might throw him in there. I don't really know who I'd stack him with. Maybe Genty and just go all Raiders offense. But yeah, Dart is better than Geno, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
The circumstances are awful for Dart right now. Kafka doesn't know how to call plays, I don't think.
Yeah, the passing attempts probably will be higher for Geno than Dart as well. So yeah, I would be okay going Geno over Dart. I would play Kirk Cousins over both if he is available. Luther Burden or Parker Washington if I need upside. Also T-Law or Brissett. Yeah, it's T-Law over Brissett. And Burden versus Parker Washington. I mean, it's tough for me to sit here and say Burden has the higher ceiling when Parker Washington had 26 last week, but I do think Burden has the higher ceiling over Parker 100%. Washington.
It's a good problem to have for this person, though, because they're both upside plays.
Yeah.
I think Burden is definitely the ceiling guy, though, out of those two.
Show running backs. Yeah, I got you with the running backs. Let me pull up the running back rankings here on the YouTube live here as well. All right, we got another start sit here. I need 2 flex spots. T-Mac, Corum, Jawan Johnson, Carter playing for the ship. I already benched Christian Watson, 63% to win right now. I think you go with the 2 running backs here and you play Carter and Corum, especially if you're projected to win. That's how I would play it. I really like the floors with the running backs more often than the receivers. Both these running backs could score and have pretty reasonable volume too.
I think I would go Corum and Juwan Johnson. I think Juwan Johnson's as much of a floor guy as anyone else there. He looked fantastic. His targets are there. Vele's still out. It's Olave and Juwan Johnson, and then Taysom Hill probably running the ball more than catching the ball, to be honest. I love Juwan Johnson this week. I was saying a second ago, I like the Saints tight ends, but yeah, I could see the argument either way. Michael Carter, he's just a little bit riskier to me than Juwan Johnson is, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I do lean Michael Carter over Juwan, but Juwan has had a really good floor. At least 4 catches in every game over the last couple of months. He had 8 catches last week as well. Kittle, Tonjes, Hill, and Loveland help. Yeah, so Kittle's not going to play. We can assume Kittle's not going to play. There is a chance he plays. He is going to test every game. And of all the guys in the league, Kittle's one of these guys that it wouldn't be shocking to see, suddenly he's playing. I think, though, for your start sits now, you do have to kind of assume he doesn't play. The fact that you have Tonjes changes the calculus a little bit. We've talked about this Hill versus Loveland one at length already. If you want a ceiling, you're playing Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is the ceiling play. If you don't need to risk it for a ceiling, then I would just go Loveland here personally, because I'm assuming Tonjes is playing. And this is also he's on the night game too. So you actually don't even need to decide.
Yeah.
Don't Hill. Wait it out. If Kittle doesn't play, which he probably isn't, then you're going Loveland. I think that's a pretty straightforward one, actually. All right, Drake London, Jalen Warren, Wandale, Michael Wilson. I think this is a pick one with these last 3. I'm not benching London here. It's Warren, Wandale, Wilson, full PPR. I don't feel great about Warren with how involved Kenneth Gainwell's been. The matchup for Warren.
Correct.
The Browns haven't been good versus running backs, but we already talked about Wandale versus Michael Wilson too, right? I think we both did Michael Wilson.
Yeah, I think it's London and Wilson, 2 guys who have the just safer. They're safer. They also have good ceilings. That's what I would do. I don't love running backs in games with super low over unders. You really are hoping that they're the one who scores the few touchdowns. Yeah.
Chase is joining late here, so if you're just catching up here, guys, you can't bench the Bengals passing attack today. There's just no benching them. They're playing a full practice squad, Cardinals secondary. So yeah, you're starting T. Higgins over Michael Wilson pretty easily. I think pretty easily. And Jamar Chase, I think, is maybe multiple tiers above T. Higgins with the target share differences recently, but still T. Higgins is a top 10 play. So yeah, you're starting
It's also worth calling out that Jamar Chase said in like a little locker room interview, he's like, "I'm due for a touchdown," and I know Joe Burrow was listening to that. So I think Jamar Chase. If I were to choose a touchdown scorer today that isn't a running back, it's Jamar Chase.
T, Tet, or London? It's T. London or Evans? I think it's Evans.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to start.
Yeah, you got to start Evans. I'm not starting Estime. Absolutely not starting Estime in the finals. Literally anyone but Estime definitely has like Samson can get 5 catches. Estime could has a way better chance at 0 than 10. I think.
Oh man,
guys, I need your help.
Pittman,
Pearsall or AD Mitchell, dynasty ship on the line. It's Pearsall. I think it's Pearsall.
I agree with that. Maybe a little bit more context, maybe, but I think Pearsall is who I'd go with in a vacuum.
I'm the one spamming likes. Appreciate you, man. Parker Washington or Kyle Williams. Oh man, I really want to be in on Kyle Williams. Sam's already riding his props, which is enough. I don't like of all weeks. Sam's, this is not the week to force it. Like this is really not the week to force things. Like look at the prop lines. Look at our projections, just go with the best play in the fantasy football finals. And that's probably going to push you to Parker Washington.
Yeah, he's like 20 yards over Williams in the books.
Yeah.
I think it's Parker Washington.
Yeah, I agree. And I really like Kyle Williams too, but just play Kyle Williams props, cash those. He's going to go over 30 yards and then play Parker Washington for the fantasy ceiling. Should I stick with Dallas Goedert or pick up Strange or Loveland? Yeah, definitely pick up Strange or Loveland. Both these guys are super similar, and both are definitely better than Goddard. I have Goddard as a must bench this league. The Bills are number 1 against tight ends this season. I do prefer Strange over Loveland, but it's close, man. Super, super close.
I agree.
They're 0.2 points apart. I think Loveland's like getting a little underrated right now since he kind of disappointed last week. Only 6 points. We haven't actually really seen a ceiling game since week 9 when that came against the Bengals. And that was also kind of a crazy finish of a game, if you remember that one, Sam's. But
oh yeah.
Yeah, I would go Strange, I think, over Loveland. I would argue Strange has a lower ceiling though than Loveland does.
Just got injury news that it's not technically injury, but DJ Moore and Zacchaeus have been downgraded to questionable with illnesses.
Oh gosh. Wow.
There's a crazy illness going on. A bunch of teams are dealing with some sort of flu or something.
The flu is going around, definitely, just in general. Yeah, and it's like crazy. You see this like going through position groups in the NFL, like all these guys in the same position group, illness, like crazy stuff. But yeah, both will probably play. Usually these guys play through that type of thing. I think Chris Rodriguez was the one example, right? That was what knocked him out, was illness.
Yep.
If I recall.
Yep.
Yeah, that was like really last minute. That was like an hour before the game.
Yeah, man, if the Bears have nothing to play for, I mean, I guess they do, but like that's a little concerning. That's a little concerning. Luther Burden might be back in. Colston Loveland might be back in. That's tough.
Wow.
I mean, if who has a higher ceiling if those guys are out, Colston Loveland or Taysom Hill? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
It actually does change the calculus a little bit. I don't think they're going to be out though. They're probably not going to be out.
Yeah, probably not. But it's definitely.
I like Burden to begin with. Like, anyways, like I still really just like Luther Burden. I think he has a really high ceiling in this game. I think we identified both his props as values this morning too. 3.5 catches, like 47.5 yards. I think goes over both those numbers. I'm playing London over Tet. London versus Henderson's close. I would probably go London there as well. Brian Thomas Jr. or Warren. Sauce is back. Yeah, Sauce is not going to scare me off of the Jags receivers today. Like, just really not. He's not going to be able to guard both these guys, and he also just hasn't been good this season. Like, he hasn't been good this season.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm going Brian Thomas Jr. here. Jags versus Saints defense. It's Jags. Yeah, it's the Jags D. It's Steelers and Jags defense, both really strong. I like the Browns today defensively a lot too, with no receivers for the Steelers. Pat's obviously a really good option as well. T. Higgins or Jennings in another league, Henderson or Tracy. I'm going Henderson over Tracy, Sams. I think Tracy projects better for us. I'm going Henderson over Tracy. I don't, like I said, I feel squeamish starting Tracy here in the finals in this game. It's just like very odd game where they're almost incentivized to play Singletary.
Yeah, loser take all game. You don't really want guys in that game. The loser take all bowl.
You're definitely not benching T. Higgins, guys. Full advice. Thanks for all the advice this season. I got you. Shout out to everyone who tuned in throughout the season. Samson and I appreciate you all. Seriously, it's been a blast. These Sunday morning lives, always sad with the season ending. Sam's, we will be going live next week, Sam's, for the brutal.
I was going to ask that.
There will be some sickos in their fantasy championships, but also it's a fun DFS and props slate. There's always just a ridiculous amount of random news going on, like just before kickoff as well. In week 18, there'll probably be like 2 meaningful games next week, like almost none, it seems like, but we'll see. Dowdle, Pearsall, Kyle Williams, or Breece Hall, and then Goddard, Hill, Tonjes. I'm going Hill over Goddard and Tonjes. Tonjes over Goddard, I think, as well, if you wanted to play it safe and stay away from Hill, but I would probably go Taysom there. I'm playing Pearsall over Kyle Williams. The more I think about that one, would you play Dowdle over Pearsall?
I feel like Dowdle is just like in a zone where he's no longer Barry Sanders. We can't start him with confidence anymore. It's such a tough matchup, but I feel like there was a game earlier this year where we said the same thing, and then Dowdle went crazy. I can't remember what game it was. Maybe it was the Packers. I think it might have been the Packers or something. We were like, there's just no way.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough.
The floor is better. I mean, he's had at least 8 points almost every game since week 5. I do think the ceiling for Pearsall is higher. I think it is a floor ceiling type of thing. I would go Dowdle if you just need to try to lock in 10. Otherwise, like, Pearsall is the better play. Pearsall is a way, way higher ceiling, I think. Burden or Devontae Smith in a flash flood game. It's Burden. It's Burden over Devontae, like, easily, I think. I don't want to start Devontae at all in this game.
No, absolutely not. No way.
What's your name? Things for the feedback. Pull up these.
It's crazy. Like, even the thing about Burden now, even if they say Moore and Zacchaeus play, if they're having the flu, they're not going to be 100%. You know what I mean? They're not going to play to their fullest. Yeah. Make like Burden, like all the Bears guys are much more interesting to me now. I'm strongly considering trying to find a way to get Loveland and more like confident, or not more Burden confidently into my lineups. That's crazy.
Burden had his best game basically of his career just before the injury too against the Browns. Like, really tough matchup versus the Browns. Much easier spot for him. What is your lean on your most favorite TD scorer being Brian Thomas? Yes, I really like this game environment for Brian Thomas. I like the matchup for Brian Thomas. The Colts were just torched by Juwan Jennings, who I think is somewhat comparable to Brian Thomas. I think Brian Thomas is a little bit due as well for like one of those big games that we were used to last season. He was one of the most disappointing fantasy picks of the year. But yeah, Demarcus Robinson and Jennings both scored last week. I think the ceiling here is really high. If you're looking for a safe touchdown scorer, I do like Saquon as my safest TD scorer of the day. I like Luther Burns' line here too, and Kyle Williams as well. I think I had 3 receivers, and I had Michael Carter in there to score as well. Those are my 5 TD plays. I don't feel super strongly about Brian Thomas over those other ones. I actually think they're all somewhat comparable. It kind of depends on the risk you're looking to take on. Happy Sunday, Sam. Happy Sunday to you as well. With Kittle out, Loveland, Fannin, or Henry. It's Fannin.
How is Fannin available? That's my question. Yeah, that's my question to this person.
He's probably rocking on the bench. But yeah, we talked about Fannin last week. I think you were a little nervous for Fannin. It made sense. They're playing the Bills. Yeah. Number 1 defense versus tight ends. He only had 4 catches. He's getting carries. Sam, instead of rushing touchdown, had a receiving touchdown. Still had a 22% target share. Hasn't been under 21% now in 5 straight games. And now he gets the Steelers, who have not been good versus tight ends. I mean, he is a baller, man. You definitely got to go with Fannin. No, wow. It sounds like he was just available, which is crazy.
I love the answer.
In the fantasy football finals, would you go Pollard here, Sam's, over Tracy?
I'm going to say yes, not only because he's been playing better than the other ones, but it's for the same reason I said Corum earlier. I almost played Pollard and took him out of my lineup. That's never been such a lock for someone to do well when I do that. If I take him out of my lineup, they're going to do good. I know it's not, literal. There's not like an actual stat behind it, but it feels right. It just feels like that's what happens. And Pollard's been playing really well. And I think the game goes over. And I think if those two things, or if you agree with me on that, then you go Pollard.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that too. 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. AJ, London, Jacoby, Evans, Bucky. Also Warren, Tonjes, or Hunter.
Oof. This is a tough one. This is really tough.
1 flex. It's probably Jacoby and Evans over London.
And AJ Brown and the weather, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's Jacoby and Evans. That's how we have it in the projections. I think I agree. All these are really good starts. And then I would probably go Warren over Tonjes. Warren versus Henry is super close. I think we have them back-to-back. Yeah, pretty much back-to-back in the ranks. I think I like Warren a little bit more confident in the pass volume there. Close one.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter and Warren feel similar to me. They're all similar. It's really...
I would play London over Henderson, even if you're playing Pitts. I'm seeing that comment. Well, we locked in, Sam. We couldn't be more locked in here. Championship Sunday morning. Brian Thomas Jr., Carter, Ramondre, half PPR. Oh, man, half PPR really makes me want to go Ramondre here. Sam's. I like Brian Thomas Jr. for the ceiling. Ramondre is the floor. I would not touch Carter with these other two options. Yeah, that's how it would go.
Yeah, I personally probably go Brian Thomas because I do agree with you that it's one of those ceiling games, but it could easily, he has the highest chance of those guys to do nothing. Like, that's tough.
Would you play Michael Wilson over Tet? I think I would.
Yes, I would.
Yeah, I think I would. And we've talked about all these tight ends. Tough tight end week here in the fantasy football finals. But yeah, I think you go Strange or Loveland here. Unless you really, really need like a crazy ceiling, which it does sounds like you don't. It's Strange or Loveland. With these receiver illnesses, maybe it is Loveland over Strange. It was already a really close start-sit. Both in really good matchups. I honestly think I might go Loveland now over Strange.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like super distracted. My lineup just needs to be set. So that's why I was looking at a little bit. I was thinking about the Loveland thing. Like, it's just like a lot to think about right now because it's the championship. You got to make these decisions. I'm rocking with Loveland. I'm riding with Loveland. I know Taysom Hill is the ceiling, but I think Loveland is an equal ceiling with those guys sick.
Yeah,
and he was on my lineup before.
He's got a better floor. I'm actually with you now with these illnesses. I think it's like a good time. There's a chance one of those guys doesn't play, and there's definitely a chance they aren't 100%.
So yeah, and then Loveland or Strange in a vacuum. I think Strange is safer. He's just been a consistent target guy, red zone threat. Trevor Lawrence loves him. It's been a big reason why Lawrence been playing better. So if you want to go Strange, I don't hate it. But if you need a little bit more of a ceiling, like a higher, like Loveland's definitely more dynamic than Strange, like athletically, talent wise.
Steelers or Saints? It's Steelers over Saints.
Yes.
T. Higgins over everybody, basically. I would play Juwan over Michael Wilson, I think, as well. If you're down big, do I play Stafford or Brissett? You also put Stafford. You gotta play. God, we have Brissett
playing against McBride. He's playing against McBride, which I think that makes me feel you got to go Brissett.
But if you're already down big, you need McBride to bust. So you kind of need Brissett to bust. I think I would go with the Stafford Puka stack. If you're down big, the Stafford Puka stack could bring anyone back from the dead on Monday night.
That's true. What if they rest their guys a little bit? Oh, it's so tough. I was saying that yesterday to someone. They need to bring back just 16 game season. Like these last 2 weeks make everything worse. Like
they're gonna in the next couple of years, probably in the next 5 years, there's going to be a 19-week season, and there's going to be 2 buys. There's going to be absolute chaos for fantasy football. 2 bye weeks. Oh gosh, Chuck, Caleb, or May. Does this illness stuff change your thoughts about Caleb at all? I think we said Caleb over May earlier. I kind of think it's May.
It doesn't change how I feel about Caleb because Caleb is so athletic. He runs the ball. It is a road game. I believe the Niners are at home, which doesn't help him. Man. Drake May's the safest. Yeah, Drake May's the safest. The Jets are not going to stop him. Imagine the first interception the Jets get of the season's against Drake May. Could you imagine?
Yeah, they're 2 games away from defense ever without an interception the whole season. Crazy stuff. And I don't think they're going to get one. Teams aren't even throwing that much against them at this point. So yeah, it's crazy. Tracy versus Burden has Loveland too. I lean Burden.
100% now. I'm in on those guys now. I Burden's. I've seen some cut-ups of Burden highlights. He looks awesome. He looks so good. He's a great player. I'm very curious what his ADP is going to be next year.
Yeah, me as well. Lawrence or Stafford? It's Lawrence. It's Lawrence over everyone. Unless you have Burrow, and then it's really close, and you could maybe go Burrow, but I would probably go Lawrence there too. Swift, Fannin, or Stevenson, pick 2. Man, that's close, Sam's. Full PPR. I usually want to lean the running backs. I don't think I'd bench Ramondre here. He projects the worst, though. Man. I think I'd probably go Fannin and Ramondre.
I mean, so anyone who's been in these lives has been listening to me for a while knows how much I love Harold Fannin, and the matchup is so good, and there's no one else to throw to. But the over/under is low. I know Fannin in that one. I think with Ramondre, I really do think that's what I would do. I feel like it's the safest way to go.
Let me pull the QB ranks here, seeing some more QB start sits. I had both Walker and Sharp. Do I stack both? I honestly go, okay, just playing both in a spot like this. I really just don't. I don't want to bank my fantasy championship on Tracy. I'd rather just ride the Seahawks backfield. Pretty good matchup versus the Panthers. I wanted to pull this one up here. Goddard or someone off waivers like Barner, Mayer, Parkinson, or Tonjes. I honestly think all of these guys are better than Goddard, Samps. Feels kind of crazy to say. Goddard's had a really good season. Like a really good season. I just do not think he can be started in the finals versus the Bills. Like Fannin was the only guy that did well. It took a rushing touchdown for Fannin to do that. Not that Goddard's not capable of that. Goddard, Samps, has the third most touchdowns per game among tight ends. I don't see that happening here versus the Bills. We have Barner and Tonjes and Parkinson and Mayer all ahead of him in the projections. I mean, between these four tight ends, I mean, such a tough call. I probably would go Mayer, but I don't feel good like choosing any of these. I know Parkinson really let people down last week. Wouldn't be shocking to me at all to see him bounce back versus the Falcons, but the Falcons have been good versus tight ends.
I think I like Goddard more than the other guys, except for Tonjes here. It's just because Goddard, he low-key is kind of like running in some of these touchdowns to an extent, like these shuffle pass, goal line stuff. Like he's a little different than the prototypical tight end the Bills have been facing. I do like Tonjes though. Like he clearly showed when Kittle doesn't play and he's the one in, he's fantastic. There is that tiny percentage chance Kittle is ruled in, which is not going to happen, but there is a concern there. At least 4:00, you go with Goddard. We probably find out by then the official status of George Kittle. I think you just go with Goddard or Tonjes. That's what I would do. And then Barner plays Monday night too, so I'd go with one of those guys, but I guess they are going off the waivers. So, man, I mean, Goddard's just scoring these touchdowns, like you said, third most.
Kittle's not playing, Sam's. I'd be fine. If you feel good about Tonjes, I'd be fine going Tonjes. I'd be really, really surprised if Kittle played, honestly.
Yeah, I would too.
They don't need to win this game so bad that it makes sense to risk Kittle for the playoffs.
See, they will need to win it. That's why it's interesting. If Seattle somehow loses and they win, I think they get the number 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken.
They do still have the 1 seed in play, but I still it's not worth risking Kittle.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't have Kittle in the playoffs, you're not making Super Bowl. Just like hands down, season over. He's battled injuries all season. They already said he's unlikely to play. It's like I would be really shocked if he played. And then I think you have. You have Parkinson on the waiver. So you add Tonjes, you plan to play him. If Kittle ends up playing for some crazy reason, then you just add Parkinson off waivers and you drop Tonjes. I'd probably do that rather than start Goddard. Personally, Samps, that's our time, man. Week 17. We're gonna be live for the sickos in week 18. Tons of props and DFS focus probably next week as well. Good luck, Samps, in the finals. Good luck to everybody.
Same to you.
Finals. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in all season. Time. It's the most valuable thing we have. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Good luck, everyone, and we will be live next week.
Let's go.